Ready to unlock a world of adventures.
It's fun.
Today, we're diving deep into essential travel phrases.
Yeah.
You've sent us a script for a video with 20 key phrases.
Okay.
Our mission: to figure out why they're so powerful and how you can use them to make your travels smoother and way more fun.
Awesome. What's fascinating is that language isn't just about words, it's a bridge to understanding different cultures.
Right.
Even a handful of phrases can completely change your travel experience.
Let's start with, can you help me? It seems simple, but I bet there's more to it than meets the eye.
You're absolutely right. It's more than just asking for help. It's an invitation to connect with locals and tap into their knowledge. Think of it as a secret handshake to unlock insider tips and hidden gems you wouldn't find in a guidebook.
Like that time I was in Rome and completely lost trying to find this tiny trattoria.
Oh, yeah.
I finally asked a local for help and ended up having the best meal of my entire trip.
Wow.
It wasn't even on any of the tourist maps.
Exactly. And that brings us to, where is the nearest? This phrase is your key to navigating unfamiliar surroundings.
Okay.
But it's also about going beyond the tourist tracks and discovering those authentic local experiences.
Makes sense. Now, for a phrase that's crucial for navigating the world of bartering and marketplaces, how much does this cost? It's not just about getting a fair price, is it?
Not at all. In many cultures, haggling is an art form, a way to build rapport and show respect. This phrase opens the door to that cultural dance.
So it's less about being aggressive and more about engaging in a friendly back and forth.
Precisely. It's about understanding the nuances of nonverbal communication, reading the seller's cues, and finding a price that works for both of you.
That's so interesting. It's like a whole new level of communication. What about when you're really struggling to understand, do you speak English? Seems like a good starting point.
It is, but don't underestimate the power of nonverbal communication. Even if someone doesn't speak English, a smile and a genuine attempt to connect can go a long way.
I found that even just trying to learn a few basic greetings in the local language can break the ice and show you're making an effort.
Definitely.
Speaking of effort, sometimes things get lost in translation. How important is it to say, I don't understand?
It's crucial. Faking understanding can lead to bigger misunderstandings down the road.
Right.
It's much better to politely admit you need clarification. Think of it as a safety net, ensuring you're both on the same page.
And it shows you're genuinely engaged in the conversation. Of course. Can you repeat that, please? Helps with that, too. Especially with unfamiliar accents.
Absolutely. Don't hesitate to ask for repetition. Or even try to break down the phrase into smaller parts.
Now, switching gears a bit, what time is it? Seems pretty straightforward, but I imagine there are cultural nuances there, too.
You're right. Different cultures have different perceptions of time and punctuality. What might be considered fashionably late in one place could be a major faux pas in another. This phrase helps you navigate those expectations.
It's about being respectful of local customs. Speaking of customs, let's talk about food. I'd like to order. Is how we unlock delicious culinary adventures.
It's your passport to exploring local flavors and discovering new dishes.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask questions about the ingredients or preparation.
It's like having a culinary conversation. And since I'm not a fan of overly spicy food, is this spicy? Is a lifesaver for me. I imagine it's helpful even for people who can handle the heat.
It's a great way to gauge the intensity of flavors in any cuisine. Food is such a personal experience, and this phrase helps you tailor that experience to your liking.
So it's about respecting your own palate, as well as the culinary traditions of the place you're visiting. Once you've enjoyed your meal, it's time to wrap things up. Can I have the bill, please? Seems simple enough, but I'm guessing there are cultural variations here, too.
You're catching on. The way you ask for the bill, who pays, and whether or not tipping is customary can vary significantly.
Right.
Observing how locals handle these situations is always a good idea.
All right, so we've covered some phrases for getting help, navigating basic communication, and even ordering food. Now, how about getting around? Where can I buy tickets is a good place to start.
This phrase is your gateway to transportation systems, cultural attractions, and even local events.
Cool.
It's a chance to tap into the pulse of the city and discover hidden gems.
And speaking of getting around, how do I get to, is essential for navigating unfamiliar territory. But it's more than just asking for directions, isn't it?
It's an opportunity to engage with locals, get their perspective on the best routes, and maybe even learn a bit of local history or lore along the way. Think of it as a mini adventure within your larger journey.
I love that. We've covered a lot of ground here, and I'm already feeling more confident about navigating my next trip.
Me too.
But before we dive into the remaining phrases, what are your thoughts so far? Any particular favorites or ones that spark your curiosity?
Well, it's amazing how these seemingly simple phrases can unlock so much more than just basic communication. They're tools for connection, cultural exchange, and even personal growth.
Absolutely. And speaking of connection, in today's digital age, what's the Wi-Fi password is practically essential.
Right.
But I'm curious, beyond the practicalities, what does this constant need for connectivity say about our travel experiences?
That's an interesting question. On one hand, Wi-Fi keeps us connected, provides access to information, and allows us to share our experiences instantly.
I see.
But it also raises questions about our ability to be present in the moment and truly immerse ourselves in new environments.
You've got me thinking. Maybe there's a balance to strike between staying connected and unplugging to fully absorb the experience. Okay, back to the phrases. Can I see the menu, please?
Seems straightforward enough.
It is, but think of it as more than just a list of dishes.
Yeah.
It's a window into the culinary soul of a place. The way a menu is presented, the descriptions used, the emphasis on certain ingredients, it all tells a story about the local culture and its relationship with food.
You know, you're right. I remember this amazing little cafe in Paris where the menu was handwritten on a chalkboard and changed daily based on what was fresh at the market.
Oh, wow.
It felt so personal and authentic.
Exactly. It's those details that create a richer travel experience.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to actually paying for those delicious meals, do you take credit cards? Is a key question.
Especially in a world where cash is becoming less common, but I'm guessing this varies greatly from place to place.
Absolutely. While credit cards are widely accepted in many urban areas, there are still places, especially in more rural or traditional communities, where cash is king. It's always wise to have some local currency on hand, just in case.
It's about being prepared and adaptable. Now, hopefully you won't need this next phrase, but it's good to be prepared. I need a doctor. It's pretty straightforward. But are there any nuances to keep in mind when communicating a medical need in a foreign country?
Yes, absolutely. It's helpful to have a basic understanding of the local healthcare system.
Okay.
Are there specific phrases for describing symptoms?
Right.
Are there any cultural taboos related to discussing illness? These are things you might want to research before you go.
It's all about being proactive and informed, especially when it comes to your health and safety. And speaking of safety, is it safe too, is a phrase that allows you to assess potential risks.
Right.
But how can you ask this question in a way that's culturally sensitive and respectful?
It's about phrasing the question in a way that seeks information rather than expressing judgment.
Okay.
Instead of asking, is this neighborhood safe? You might ask, what are some things I should be aware of when exploring this area?
That's a great tip. It's about showing that you're open to learning and respecting local perspectives. Okay, let's shift gears to something a bit lighter. Can you take a photo of Matthias? This seemingly simple request can actually lead to some interesting interactions, right?
It's a wonderful way to connect with locals and create a shared moment.
Yeah.
You might even get some unexpected photography tips or recommendations for hidden photo spots. I once had a local in Vietnam insist on taking my photo with his motorbike. It was totally unexpected, but it made for a hilarious and memorable photo. Speaking of memorable experiences, what's the best way to get to is more than just about finding the fastest route.
Precisely. It's about understanding the local transportation landscape and the unique rhythms of a place. Sometimes the journey itself can be as enriching as the destination.
You know, you're making me rethink my whole approach to travel. It's not just about checking things off a list, but about slowing down, observing, and embracing the unexpected.
That's the heart of it. And sometimes those unexpected moments lead to the most memorable stories.
Like the time I got completely lost in the back streets of Tokyo and stumbled upon this amazing hidden garden. I was supposed to be at a museum, but getting lost turned out to be the highlight of my day.
Perfect example. And that brings us to our final phrase, the one we all hope to avoid, but need to know just in case. I'm lost.
Okay, so beyond the obvious practical use, what are some of the less obvious benefits of admitting you're lost?
Well, getting lost can be a humbling experience. It forces you to rely on others, to step outside your comfort zone and to embrace the unknown. And you never know what unexpected adventures might unfold when you stray from the beaten path.
I've definitely found that to be true.
Yeah.
Getting lost has often led me to some of my most treasured travel discoveries.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, exploring 20 essential travel phrases and uncovering the layers of cultural meaning and potential for connection that lie beneath the surface. What are your final thoughts before we wrap up?
It's amazing how these phrases have gone from simple words to tools for deeper travel experiences. We've talked about asking for help, navigating cultural norms, even the art of getting lost.
And we've only scratched the surface.
Right.
The beauty of languages is that it's constantly evolving. There's always more to learn, new ways to connect, and fresh perspectives to gain.
Absolutely.
That's what makes travel so exciting.
Yeah.
Now, before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to shift the focus to you, the listener.
Which of these 20 phrases resonated with you the most? Have you had any travel experiences where knowing a key phrase made all the difference?
Right.
We'd love to hear your stories and insights.
Because ultimately, the best travel advice comes from shared experiences. It's about learning from each other, building a community of curious explorers, and inspiring one another to embrace the world with open hearts and open minds.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So as you pack your bags for your next adventure, remember that language is more than just words. It's a bridge to understanding, a tool for connection, and a passport to a world of incredible experiences.
Safe travels. And may your journeys be filled with meaningful conversations and unexpected discoveries.
All right, so today we're going to do a deep dive into business English.
Okay.
But not just like your basic vocabulary and definitions. We're going to kind of go a little bit deeper into like how language can actually completely transform your presence in like any professional setting.
Yeah, you know what's so interesting about that is that we tend to focus so much on like the technical aspects of language, grammar and vocabulary, all that stuff. But we kind of forget about the psychological impact of the words we choose. It's like having a secret code almost that can influence, how people perceive us and how they respond to our ideas. And ultimately how we can really, effectively navigate the world of business.
Okay, so not just about sounding smart or professional.
Right.
But using language strategically to like get what you want.
Exactly. Like think about it. Every phrase, every word is like a little signal. It conveys more than just the surface meaning.
Okay, I like that. So you've got a script here with 20 powerful business English phrases. So what are some of the first ones that can help us make a strong first impression?
Well, right out of the gate, we have, let's get started.
Seems simple, right?
Yeah.
But it's actually a really good way to subtly establish leadership. Taking initiative to kick things off, you're signaling confidence and a proactive mindset.
I can see that. But doesn't it also depend on like the context? Like if you're in a meeting with your boss, maybe you want to let them take the lead.
Yeah, for sure. Adaptability is key.
Yeah.
Let's get started is perfect for situations where you're expected to take charge. Or, like you said, if you want to like inject some energy into a conversation that's stalled.
But reading the room is important.
Always.
Okay, so it's not just about memorizing the phrases. It's about understanding like the nuances of when and how to use them.
Yeah.
Okay, what's next?
Okay, so we have, I'd like to introduce Handy. Now, this might seem like basic courtesy, but it's actually a little deeper than that. When you take the time to introduce people, you're showing respect for them and acknowledging their presence. And this can really foster a more inclusive and collaborative atmosphere right from the start.
Yeah, it's funny how something so simple can have such a big impact on the whole dynamic.
Okay, I'm starting to see the power of these phrases.
And then there's, can we schedule a meeting? Again, this might seem obvious, but think about it. What's the alternative? Popping into someone's office or, sending a bunch of emails back and forth.
Right.
But formally requesting a meeting shows respect for their time and it shows that you're organized.
Okay, I'm definitely guilty of the popping in. I can see how that can come across as disorganized or even disrespectful, especially for people who really value structure
Totally.
and clear communication.
Yeah, and everyone's so busy these days, so valuing people's time is a huge asset.
Okay, so we've talked about those first few phrases, setting the tone and creating that positive first impression. But what about when you're in the middle of a discussion and things are getting a little bit heated or going off topic? What are some phrases that can help navigate those situations?
Well, one of my favorites is, let's circle back to that. It's just a really nice way to kind of steer the conversation back on track without, being confrontational or dismissive. You're acknowledging what the other person is saying, but signaling that it's not the priority right now.
Right. Okay. That's much better than saying we're getting sidetracked.
Mm-hmm.
But is there a risk that the person will feel like their idea is being ignored?
Yeah, that's where, active listening is really important. You don't want to just like say the phrase and move on, make a mental note to come back to it, or even like suggest a specific time to discuss it. It shows them that you value what they're saying, even if it's not the focus right this second.
So it's like you're balancing acknowledging their idea, but like also maintaining control of the conversation, but making sure that everyone feels heard.
Exactly.
It's like a little dance.
It is. Okay, what else?
Okay, so then we have, you clarify that. This one's all about clear communication, which is so important in any professional setting.
For sure.
By asking for clarification, you're not only making sure that you understand, but you're also prompting them to articulate their thoughts more clearly.
Yeah, because sometimes you think you understand what someone means, but then when you ask for clarification, it can reveal like these hidden nuances, or even prevent misunderstandings later on.
Exactly. And especially in business where decisions have big consequences, clarity is crucial.
Yeah, it could be the difference between a successful project and, a big mistake.
Huge.
Okay, so we've covered setting the tone, protecting everyone's time, steering the conversation back on track, and making sure that everyone's communicating clearly. What's next?
So welcome back to our deep dive into, the power of language and business English.
Okay, so before we move on to the next set of phrases, I think it's interesting that you mentioned empathy. I usually think about empathy in terms of like personal relationships, not really in the workplace.
Yeah, that's a pretty common misconception, actually. But, even in a professional setting, you're dealing with people who have, their own motivations and perspectives and even insecurities. So when you tap into that empathy, you can really create a more understanding and collaborative environment.
Okay, I'm curious, how does empathy translate to like practical communication skills?
Well, it starts with really listening and trying to understand where the other person is coming from. But it also goes beyond that. It's like reading between the lines, picking up on nonverbal cues, and just being sensitive to their emotional state.
So it's not just what they're saying, it's how they're saying it.
Exactly. Like imagine you're in a team meeting and someone seems a little hesitant to share their ideas. Instead of just saying, "What do you think?" you could say something like, "I sense you might have some thoughts on this. We'd love to hear your perspective."
Yeah, that's a good example. It's like you're acknowledging their hesitation and creating a safe space for them to contribute.
Exactly. And that's how empathy can really, help build trust and rapport. When people feel heard and understood, they're more likely to open up and share their ideas, and it just creates a more positive and productive work environment.
Okay, so empathy is like the secret ingredient.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, let's get back to our list of power phrases. We've covered first impressions and navigating discussions. What about the phrases that can help us like keep things moving and make sure everyone's on the same page?
Okay, well, a classic one is "I'll follow up with you."
Okay.
Now, it might seem like just a simple courtesy, but it's actually a really powerful way to show accountability. When you say that, you're not only reassuring the person that you've heard their concern, but you're also committing to taking action.
Oh, I never thought about it that way. But you're right. It's like turning a vague promise into a concrete commitment.
Yeah, and in business, trust and reliability are so important.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, what's another phrase that falls under this category?
So we have "let's touch base." It's just a nice way to maintain momentum on a project without being too formal or demanding. It just implies an open line of communication.
I use that one all the time.
Yeah.
But I guess it's more than just a casual check-in. It's about, fostering a sense of collaboration and shared responsibility.
Exactly. It's about creating a dynamic where everyone feels comfortable communicating updates and, working together.
Okay, so we've talked about following up and touching base. What about keeping people informed? Sometimes it's easy to get siloed or people feel left out of the loop.
Yeah, for sure. That's where a phrase like "I'll keep you in the loop" can be really useful. It's simple, but it's effective. You're demonstrating transparency and making sure that everyone feels included.
But is there a risk of over-communicating? Do I really need to keep everyone updated on every single detail?
Yeah, that's where using your judgment comes in. It's about finding a balance between keeping people informed without overwhelming them with too much information.
So be strategic and intentional.
Exactly.
Not just copying everyone on every email.
Right. It's about respecting people's time and attention.
Okay, we're making good progress here.
Yeah.
We've covered first impressions, navigating discussions, and staying on top of things. What's next?
Okay, so now we're moving into the area of collaboration and teamwork.
Okay.
This is where phrases like "what's the timeline" become really important. It's about, setting clear expectations and making sure everyone's on the same page about deadlines.
I like that it's straightforward.
Yeah.
Gets right to the point.
And then we have phrases like "that's a great point" and "I appreciate your input." Now, these might seem like simple pleasantries, but they're actually really important for creating a positive team environment.
Yeah, you're acknowledging their contribution and validating their ideas.
Exactly. It's about creating a space where people feel comfortable sharing their thoughts, you know?
Without being judged.
Right.
I've definitely been in meetings where people are like afraid to speak up.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to be like shut down.
It makes a big difference.
Okay, what else?
So then we have, let's table this for now. This is a great way to acknowledge an idea without letting it completely derail the conversation.
Right, the art of the gentle deferral.
Yeah, I like that.
So many meetings get sidetracked.
Totally.
By like one little tangent.
Exactly. And this is a way to say, we hear you, but let's stay focused.
Okay, I'm liking these insights.
And to round out this section on collaboration, we have, how can I assist you?
Okay.
This might seem basic, but it's actually a really powerful way to demonstrate teamwork and support.
Yeah, it's more than just offering help. It's like expressing a willingness to contribute to the team's success.
Exactly. It's about fostering a culture of mutual support where everyone feels comfortable, asking for help and offering their expertise.
Okay, so we've covered setting a positive tone, navigating discussions, staying organized and collaborating effectively. What's next?
Okay, so now we're moving into the realm of decision-making, action, and leadership.
Yep.
These are the phrases that can really help you drive projects forward and inspire your team to achieve their goals.
Okay, I'm ready for this. But I think we're going to need a little more time to dive into these phrases.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's just say that for the final part of our deep dive.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned, listeners. We'll be right back to explore how to use language to inspire action, drive results, and unleash your inner leader. Okay, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into business English. And we're talking about how to use language to really inspire action and drive results and unleash our, inner leaders.
Exactly.
So we've unpacked a lot already. But I think this last set of phrases is where it gets really interesting.
You're right. These final phrases are all about moving from discussion to decision-making and from ideas to action.
Okay, I'm ready.
So let's start with, we need to align on this.
Okay.
This phrase is all about achieving consensus, making sure everyone's moving in the same direction. It's particularly effective when you're facing a complex decision or when there are differing opinions.
Okay, so it's more collaborative than just dictating a decision.
Exactly.
It's more inclusive.
Yeah, you're inviting everyone to participate in the decision-making process.
Right. And that makes people feel more ownership of the outcome.
Exactly.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we need to align on this. It's about getting everyone on the same page. What's next?
Okay, so next we have, let's prioritize.
Okay.
This is about, focusing your energy on the most important tasks.
Right, because it's easy to get bogged down
Totally.
in a million little things.
Especially in a fast-paced business environment.
Yeah.
But this phrase helps you cut through the noise and stay focused on what really matters.
I like it. It's like a mental decluttering tool for your to-do list.
I like that.
It forces you to say no to the things that aren't essential.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got alignment, we've got prioritization.
Yeah.
What other phrases can help us move from talking to doing?
Okay, well, I'd like to emphasize, this is a really good way to draw attention to certain points and make sure they don't get lost.
Okay.
It's particularly useful when you're presenting or leading a discussion or giving feedback.
Oh, it's like a verbal highlighter?
Yeah.
It's like, pay attention. This is important.
Exactly.
Cool. What's next?
Okay, we have, can you provide an update? This one is all about accountability and making sure that projects stay on track.
Okay.
It's a really simple way to request progress reports, gather information, and keep everyone in the loop.
I use that one all the time.
Yeah,
But I guess it's more than just asking for information.
it is.
It's about setting expectations and keeping things moving.
Exactly. And it helps everyone feel accountable for their part of the project.
Okay, so we've covered alignment, prioritization, emphasis, and accountability. What other phrases can help us really inspire action?
Okay, well, there's that classic, we need to think outside the box. I know it's a bit overused, but the sentiment behind it is still really important.
Right.
It's about encouraging creativity, challenging assumptions, and exploring new possibilities.
I admit I kind of roll my eyes when I hear that sometimes.
Yeah.
But you're right, it's about the intention. It's about pushing ourselves to be more innovative.
Exactly.
Okay, what else?
And finally, we have, let's move forward with this plan. This one is all about decisiveness and taking action.
Okay.
It signals that the decision has been made and it's time to get things moving.
It's like a call to action.
Exactly.
All right, we've covered so much today. It's amazing how much power these little phrases have.
I know, it's pretty cool, right?
It's like you've given us a secret decoder ring for business success.
I like that.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's one final question you'd like to leave our listeners with?
Okay, think about this. Beyond these specific phrases, what personal qualities do you think contribute to effective communication? Is it confidence, empathy, active listening?
Ooh, that's good.
Cultivating those qualities can really make you a more impactful communicator.
Yeah, because communication's about so much more than just the words, right? It's about connecting with people and building trust and inspiring action.
Exactly.
So keep practicing and keep refining your communication style. And keep striving to connect with people in meaningful and authentic ways. Until next time, go out there and communicate like a pro. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're diving deep into the English-speaking job market today.
Ooh, exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Think of this deep dive like your secret weapon for decoding all that tricky job hunting lingo.
I like it.
We've got some great source material lined up that's basically a crash course on everything from resumes to interviews to all that good stuff.
It's really fascinating, actually. What I found really interesting about these sources is that they don't just define the terms.
Right.
They really get into the strategy behind them, you know?
Oh, that's
It's
it.
like they've taken all the best advice from career coaches and hiring managers and distilled it all down into these really actionable tips.
I love that.
Yeah,
Okay, so let's just jump right in.
let's do it.
Resumes.
Oh,
Everyone's favorite topic, right?
the bane of our existence.
I know. But seriously, our source material highlights something really crucial here.
Okay.
The power of strong action verbs.
Yes.
And I don't just mean like using managed instead of did. It's about getting way more specific and impactful with your word choices.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's about
Yeah.
thinking about, okay, if you are a software developer, instead of saying developed a website, you could say led a team of 5 to develop a user-friendly website that increased customer engagement by 20%.
Whoa.
See the difference?
Okay, yeah. That's way more powerful.
Right.
It's not just about what you did.
Yeah,
It's about the impact you made.
exactly. And that's what employers want to see, results.
Hmm.
So I have a challenge for everyone listening.
Ooh, I like a challenge.
Pull up your own resume.
Okay.
Take a look at those verbs.
All right, I'm doing it right now.
Are they doing your skills justice?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Could you swap them out for something stronger, something that really showcases your accomplishments?
I love that little homework assignment.
There you go.
All right, so you've got your resume packed with power verbs.
Check.
Now you need a cover letter to really seal the deal.
Yeah.
This is where a lot of people get stuck.
Mm-hmm.
But our source material breaks down the purpose and structure in a way that's super clear
Yeah.
and actually kind of inspiring.
It is.
Yeah.
You know what I found really interesting here is that the source emphasizes how a cover letter is your chance to show your personality.
Okay.
Your resume is all facts and figures, but the cover letter is where you can let your passion and enthusiasm shine through.
Uh-huh.
It's where you connect with the employer on a human level.
So it's not just a summary of your resume.
Yeah.
It's almost like a mini story about why you're the perfect fit
Precisely.
for this specific role.
Yes. And you know what else I found really helpful?
What's that?
The source material talks about the importance of the call to action in the closing paragraph.
Oh,
It's not just about saying thanks for your time.
yeah.
It's about proactively expressing your eagerness to move forward in the process.
Okay, it's just like, hey, I'm ready for that interview. Let's do this.
Exactly.
Okay, I've got the killer resume and a compelling cover letter.
We're doing good.
Now we need to find the right jobs to apply for.
All right, the fun part.
Yeah. So our source material dives into decoding job postings,
Okay.
like how to read between the lines and figure out what employers are really looking for.
Yes, and this is where things get strategic.
Ooh, I like it.
The source material gives this great tip about using keywords from the job posting to tailor your resume and cover letter.
Oh, that's smart.
It's about speaking their language, showing them that you understand their needs and that you've done your homework.
It makes sense if you're an employer and you see a resume that's clearly tailored to your specific job posting, shows that the applicant is serious and invested.
Absolutely. And it's not just about keywords.
Okay.
It's about understanding the underlying problems that the company's trying to solve.
Mm-hmm.
What are their pain points?
Right.
How can your skills and experience help them overcome those challenges?
Ooh.
If you can articulate that
Yeah,
in your application materials, you'll definitely stand out.
that's such a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's move on to some of the more foundational elements
Yes.
of the job application process.
Okay.
Qualifications, experience, and references.
The classics.
I know our source material covers the basics here, but it also includes a really important insider tip about references
Oh, yes.
that I think a lot of people overlook.
This is one of those things that seems obvious, but it's crucial.
Oh, really?
Always get permission before listing someone as a reference.
Oh.
Not only is it common courtesy,
Okay.
but it also gives your reference a chance to prepare
Oh, that's good.
and make sure they're comfortable speaking about your qualifications.
Yeah, you don't want to catch someone off guard
Exactly.
and potentially sabotage your chances.
Right. It's much better to have a few enthusiastic references who are ready to sing your praises
Yes.
than a long list of people who are hesitant or unprepared.
Okay, so you've submitted your application
Fingers crossed.
and you get the call for an interview.
Yay.
Exciting but nerve-wracking, right?
Oh, for sure.
Our source material acknowledges this and really emphasizes the importance of preparation.
Absolutely.
And they offer some really practical advice
Okay.
for tackling one of the most common interview questions.
Which is?
Tell me about yourself.
Oh,
I know this is where so many people stumble,
I know I do.
but it's actually a golden opportunity to make a strong first impression.
It is.
Yeah, I always find myself fumbling through that one.
Me too.
So what's the secret?
The key is to craft a concise and engaging response that highlights your relevant skills and experience.
Okay.
And then this is the crucial part, connects them back to the specific role you're interviewing for. You're not just reciting your resume.
Right.
You're telling a story that demonstrates why you're the perfect fit for this particular job.
It's like you're saying, here's who I am, here's what I'm good at, and here's how I can contribute to your team.
Exactly.
I like it.
And you know what else I found helpful?
Tell me.
The source material suggests practicing your response out loud,
Oh?
even recording yourself,
Ooh, that's a good idea.
so you can hear how you sound.
Yeah.
You want to come across as confident and enthusiastic,
Right.
not robotic or rehearsed.
That's such good advice.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people focus on what they're going to say, but forget about how they're going to say it.
Totally. And remember, an interview is a two-way street.
That's true.
It's not just about answering their questions. It's about asking your own questions.
Right.
To get a feel for the company culture
Yeah.
and whether it's a good fit for you.
That's a great reminder.
So we've talked about resumes, cover letters, and interviews.
We are on a roll.
Now let's dive into the world of networking.
All right, let's do it.
Our source material defines it as building relationships to discover job opportunities.
Okay.
It's about making connections and expanding your professional circle.
I like that.
But what's really interesting here is that the source goes beyond the traditional idea of networking.
Okay.
At formal events,
Right.
they talk about the importance of building relationships online.
Oh, like LinkedIn.
Exactly, through platforms like LinkedIn and even through casual conversations with people in your field.
Wow. I love that. It's like networking doesn't have to be this stuffy, formal thing.
Yeah,
It can happen organically through genuine interactions.
absolutely. And, sometimes the most unexpected connections can lead to the most amazing opportunities.
That's so true. Okay, before we move on, I want to touch on a topic
Yes.
that's often a bit awkward.
Uh-oh.
Perks and pay.
The money talk.
I know it's important to be prepared to discuss salary expectations
Yes,
during the interview process.
it is.
But how do you even approach that conversation?
Well, our source material has some excellent advice on this.
Okay, good.
It emphasizes the importance of researching average salaries
Okay,
for similar roles in your location.
that makes sense.
Knowledge is power when it comes to negotiation.
Right.
You need to know your worth and be able to articulate it confidently.
You don't want to undersell yourself or price yourself out of the running.
Exactly. And it's not just about salary.
Oh.
It's about understanding the entire compensation package, benefits, vacation time, professional development opportunities.
All that good stuff.
All of it.
Okay, this is all great information.
I know, right?
But I'm curious, what about different work styles?
Oh, yeah.
Full-time, part-time, freelance contract work.
It's a whole new world out there.
There's so many options these days.
You're absolutely right. And our source material actually does a fantastic job of breaking down these different work styles.
Okay.
And encouraging you to think about which one aligns best with your lifestyle and career goals.
That's so important. There's
Yeah.
no one-size-fits-all approach.
Exactly. It's about finding the work style that allows you to thrive both professionally and personally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know what's really fascinating is that the traditional 9-to-5 office job
Yeah,
is becoming less and less common.
it's true.
More and more people are opting for remote work, flexible schedules, and even starting their own businesses.
I love to see it.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this first part.
We have.
We've talked about crafting a powerful resume,
Check.
writing a compelling cover letter,
Sure.
acing that interview,
Check.
networking like a pro,
Check.
and even navigating the tricky waters of salary negotiation and work style options.
We did it.
But there's so much more to explore.
I know. In part 2, we're going to dive even deeper into the English-speaking job market.
Ooh, exciting.
We'll tackle those subtle but oh so important workplace dynamics,
Okay.
cultural nuances, and communication styles that can really make or break your success.
Can't wait. Welcome back. So we just finished talking about finding the right work style.
Yeah.
But actually landing the job is just the first step.
Right.
Now we're getting into the nitty-gritty of what it's like to navigate the English-speaking workplace.
Okay.
And I gotta say, some of these source materials are giving me flashbacks
Really?
to my first office job.
Ooh.
Good times, mostly.
That's good.
It's like there's this whole hidden curriculum
Totally.
that no one tells you about.
Right.
You learn the job description, sure.
Yeah.
But then there's this whole other layer of workplace culture, unspoken rules, communication styles.
Oh, yeah.
It can be a lot to figure out.
Totally. And our sources don't just skim the surface here.
No.
They get into some really interesting and sometimes awkward aspects of office life.
Okay. Give me an example.
Okay, like, remember that whole thing about probation periods?
Uh-huh.
I always thought that was just paperwork stuff.
Right. But the source material we have really digs into the strategy behind it.
Okay.
It points out that probation periods are a chance for both the employer and the employee to assess if it's a good fit.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it's not just about keeping your head down and doing your work, It's about actively demonstrating your value and exceeding expectations.
Okay, that's a good spin on it.
Yeah.
View it as a proving ground.
Not just a waiting period.
Exactly.
Speaking of proving yourself, our sources also cover job descriptions,
Okay.
but in a way I hadn't really thought of before.
What's that?
What I found fascinating here is they emphasize how job descriptions are often just the starting point.
Oh, interesting.
As you settle into a role,
Yeah.
your responsibilities might evolve.
Right.
You might take on new projects or even find yourself collaborating with different teams.
Ooh.
So it's not about being confined by that job description,
Okay.
but being open to growth and taking on new challenges.
Exactly. And the sources even tie this back to the idea of promotions, suggesting that going above and beyond your initial job description can actually position you really well for advancement.
Okay, so it's like always be looking for ways to add value.
Yes.
Even if it's outside the strict lines of your job description.
Yeah.
But how do you balance that with, not burning yourself out?
Right. That's important.
Yeah. Our sources talk a lot about work-life balance.
Yes.
Which feels super relevant these days.
It is. It's a hot topic, and the sources highlight that it's not just about clocking out at 5 p.m. either.
Right.
It's about setting boundaries, prioritizing your well-being, and making sure you have time for things you enjoy outside of work.
I think it's also about recognizing that everyone's definition of balance is different.
Right.
What works for one person might not work for another.
That's a great point. And the sources actually suggest having open conversations with your manager or team about your individual needs and preferences.
Yeah.
It's about finding a balance that works for both you and the company.
Okay, so we've talked about navigating your role within a company.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the people and, dare I say, the drama. I mean, our sources get real about office politics.
It's one of those topics people kind of dance around, but it's definitely a reality in most workplaces. What I found really helpful is that the sources break down office politics into a few key elements.
Like what?
Well, they talk about understanding the informal networks and relationships within the company. Who are the key influencers? Who are the decision makers? And how do those dynamics actually play out?
So it's not about being gossipy or manipulative.
No.
It's about being aware of the power structures.
Right.
And navigating them in a way that's both ethical and effective.
Exactly. And it also ties back to something we talked about earlier. Networking, the stronger your relationships are within the company, the better equipped you'll be to navigate those sometimes choppy political waters.
Okay, that makes sense. Speaking of navigating.
Yes.
Our sources also get into something that can be really tricky.
Okay.
Especially in a globalized world, and that's cultural nuances.
Right, like what flies in one culture might be a major faux pas in another.
Exactly. This is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
The sources don't just provide a list of do's and don'ts.
Right.
They encourage you to approach cultural differences with curiosity and respect.
I love that.
Yeah, it's like instead of assuming you know what's appropriate, ask questions, observe how others interact,
Right.
and be willing to adapt your communication style.
Absolutely. And it's not just about avoiding offense.
Yeah.
It's about building trust and understanding across cultural boundaries.
Okay, so we've talked about navigating office politics
Yes,
and cultural nuances.
we have.
Now let's get into the nitty-gritty of communication itself.
All right.
Our sources are full of vocabulary related to workplace conversations, meetings, and emails.
It's a lot.
I know.
Yeah.
What's interesting is they don't just define the terms.
Okay.
They give you tips for using them effectively.
Ooh.
Like, for example, they talk about the importance of active listening
Yes.
in meetings.
It's so important.
It's not just about hearing what's being said. It's about engaging with the ideas, asking clarifying questions, and really demonstrating that you're paying attention.
Right. So like nodding and saying, every once in a while
Yeah.
isn't going to cut it.
Not exactly.
Active listening is about being present and engaged, both verbally and non-verbally.
Okay.
It's about making eye contact, taking notes,
Right.
and even summarizing what you've heard to make sure you understand correctly.
Got it. Active listening.
Check.
What else do we need to know about communication?
Well, the sources also talk about the importance of giving and receiving feedback effectively.
Okay, feedback.
It's not just about praising good work or pointing out mistakes. It's about providing constructive criticism
Right.
that helps people grow and develop.
Okay, I think we all know how important that is,
Yes.
but it can be so tricky to do well.
It is, and the sources acknowledge that they recommend focusing on specific behaviors, not personality traits,
Okay.
and framing feedback in a way that's solution-oriented.
So it's not about blaming or shaming.
Yeah.
It's about helping people improve.
Exactly.
That's a really good distinction, and I think it ties into the whole idea of creating a positive and supportive work environment,
Yeah,
which, let's be honest, can be tough sometimes.
it can, but our sources have some great insights.
Oh, good.
On fostering a healthy workplace culture. They talk about the importance of clear communication,
Okay.
mutual respect, and a sense of shared purpose.
So, like, it's not just about being friendly.
Right.
It's about creating a space where everyone feels valued and respected,
Yeah.
and where they can contribute their best work.
Exactly. And it also ties into something we touched on earlier,
What's that?
teamwork. The sources really emphasize the importance of collaboration,
Okay.
both within teams and across departments.
I like that.
It's about recognizing that everyone has something valuable to contribute, and that working together is essential for achieving shared goals.
Right. So we've talked about navigating workplace dynamics,
Yes.
cultural
Yeah.
nuances, communication styles, feedback, and teamwork. Is there anything else we need to know before we venture out into the wilds
Oh, I like that.
of the English-speaking workplace?
Well, there's one more topic our sources highlight that I think is really important, and that's mentorship.
Okay. Mentorship.
They emphasize the value of having a more experienced person
Yeah.
who can offer guidance, support, and insights as you navigate your career.
I've heard about that, but I always thought it was something you had to, like, formally apply for.
It can be, but the sources suggest that mentorship can also happen organically
Oh, okay.
through relationships you build within your company or even within your professional network.
So it's like, be open to learning from people who have more experience than you.
Right.
And don't be afraid to ask for advice or guidance.
Exactly. And it goes both ways.
Oh, that's a good point.
As you gain experience, you can also mentor others and share your knowledge and insights.
That's a great point. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this part.
We have.
We've talked about navigating workplace dynamics, cultural nuances, communication styles, feedback, teamwork, and even mentorship.
We're really getting into the nuances of what it takes to thrive
I know.
in the English-speaking job market.
We are.
But there's still more to explore in part 3. We're going to dive even deeper into those sometimes unspoken rules of workplace etiquette,
Ooh.
those subtle but oh so important cues
Yeah,
that can make all the difference in how you're perceived.
can't wait.
Stay tuned.
All right, welcome back for the final part of our deep dive into the English-speaking job market.
Ooh, the grand finale.
I know we've covered so much ground already. Resumes, interviews, networking, office dynamics, you name it.
All the things.
But there's one last layer we need to explore,
Okay, I'm intrigued.
and it's all about those unspoken rules
Oh,
of workplace etiquette.
the do's and don'ts.
Exactly, because let's be honest, sometimes it's the little things that make the biggest difference.
It's true.
And our source material gets in some really interesting nuances here.
Okay.
Especially around email etiquette.
Oh, yeah. Email, the double-edged sword of workplace communication.
You can say that again.
It's so convenient, but it's also so easy to make a mistake.
Right.
That can damage your professional image.
So true. I remember this one time I accidentally replied all to an email that was, let's just say, not meant for everyone's eyes.
Oof, we've all been there.
Not my proudest moment.
But the good news is our sources offer some really helpful tips for avoiding those email faux pas.
Okay, good.
Like, for example, they emphasize the importance of starting with a professional salutation.
Right.
Dear Mr. or Mrs. last name is always a safe bet.
Yeah.
Unless you're on a first name basis with the person.
Right, and even then, it's probably best to err on the side of formality.
Yeah.
At least until you get a sense of the company culture.
Exactly. And the sources also talk about keeping your emails concise and to the point. No one wants to wade through a wall of text.
So like bullet points are our friends.
Absolutely. And avoid using slang, emojis, or excessive exclamation points.
Noted.
You want to project an image of competence and professionalism.
And proofread.
Yes.
Typos and grammatical errors
The worst.
can make you look careless and unprofessional.
So true. Okay, so we've mastered the art of email.
We're on a roll.
Now let's talk about another potential minefield.
Okay.
Meeting etiquette.
Ooh, yes. Meetings, love them or hate them, they're a part of almost every job.
It's true.
And our sources highlight some key things to keep in mind.
Like what?
Like punctuality.
Yes.
Arriving on time shows respect for everyone's time and demonstrates your professionalism.
And I think it also shows that you're organized and prepared, which is always a good look.
Right. And once you're in the meeting,
Yeah.
the sources emphasize the importance of active participation.
Okay.
Contribute to the discussion, ask clarifying questions, and offer your insights
Yes.
when appropriate.
But also know when to listen.
Yeah.
Don't dominate the conversation or interrupt others.
It's all about balance.
It's about finding that balance between being engaged and being respectful of others.
And one more thing. Put those phones away.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you're expecting an urgent call, it's incredibly disrespectful
It is.
to be scrolling through social media or texting during a meeting.
It's like you're saying, I'm not really interested in what you have to say.
Okay, so we've talked about email etiquette and meeting etiquette.
check.
Now let's get into something a little more juicy.
Ooh, tell me more.
Our sources actually touch on the topic of workplace gossip.
Ah, yes, the water cooler whispers. It's inevitable in any workplace.
It really is.
But it's definitely something to navigate carefully.
Because even if you're not the one spreading the gossip,
Yeah,
just listening to it can make you complicit.
that's true. And the sources recommend resisting the temptation to engage.
Okay.
In negative gossip, it can damage relationships and create a toxic work environment.
Instead, try to steer the conversation
Yes.
towards more positive topics. Or, if you feel uncomfortable, politely excuse yourself.
And remember, what you say about others reflects on you. It's always best to err on the side of discretion and kindness.
Okay, gossip averted.
He did it.
Now let's talk about something that's essential for success
Yeah.
in any workplace, but especially in an English-speaking environment. Conflict resolution.
Oh, this is where those communication skills we talked about earlier really come into play.
Yeah.
The sources emphasize approaching conflict with a calm and respectful attitude.
Because getting defensive or emotional is only going to escalate the situation.
Exactly. The key is to listen actively to the other person's perspective. Try to find common ground and focus on finding a solution that benefits everyone involved.
Avoid personal attacks
Right.
and emotional outbursts.
Yes.
Remember, it's about addressing the issue, not the person.
And if you can't resolve the conflict on your own,
Yeah.
don't hesitate to involve a neutral third party like a manager or HR representative.
Okay, conflict resolved. We're on a roll.
I know, right?
Now let's touch on one final, but incredibly important
Hit me with it.
aspect of workplace etiquette:
All right.
cultural sensitivity.
This is especially crucial in today's diverse workplaces.
Yeah.
It's about being aware and respectful of different cultural norms, values, and communication styles.
Like, for example, in some cultures, direct eye contact is considered a sign of respect, while in others it can be seen as aggressive or confrontational.
Exactly. And there are so many other nuances to be aware of personal space humor, even the way you give and receive gifts.
So it's really about being mindful. doing your research, and being willing to adapt your behavior to different cultural contexts.
And if you're ever unsure about something, don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah.
It's better to clarify than to unintentionally offend someone.
That's a great point. Cultural sensitivity is really about fostering an inclusive and respectful work environment
Absolutely.
where everyone feels valued and respected.
Wow, we've covered a ton of ground
We really have,
in this deep dive.
from crafting that perfect resume.
When mastering the art of workplace etiquette.
We've given you a comprehensive toolkit for navigating the English-speaking job market.
We did it.
Remember, it's a journey, not a destination.
So true.
Stay curious, keep learning, and don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yes. And most importantly, believe in yourself and your abilities.
Now, before we sign off, we'd love to hear from you. What are some of the most interesting or confusing workplace scenarios you've encountered?
Ooh, good question.
Share your stories and insights with us. We're all ears.
Until next time, happy job hunting.
Okay, have you ever noticed, how often we have to introduce ourselves?
All the time. Right.
Yeah, but it can be so awkward.
Oh, absolutely. Especially, meeting new people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What do you even say? And it can be even harder when you're trying to do it in English if it's, not your first language.
Right. First impressions are everything, though, so we really should get this right.
Which is why this deep dive is perfect. We found this guide, and it's got some really good tips. So let's jump right in.
Yeah, let's do it. What I found really interesting is that it doesn't even start with, what you say.
Wait, really? I was all ready to, practicing my elevator pitch and all that.
Nope. First things first. Nonverbal cues.
What? Body language and stuff?
Exactly. Smiling and eye contact. The source is really big on those.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
A smile can make you seem more approachable.
It's more than that, though. It's when you meet someone and their smile just kind of lights up the room.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean.
It's that kind of energy. This guide talks about the Duchenne smile, which is a specific type of smile that uses the muscles around your eyes.
So it's not just a fake smile, it's got to be genuine.
Exactly. And there's research showing that a Duchenne smile makes you seem more trustworthy,
Oh, wow. So in a job interview, a good smile could be a huge advantage.
Oh, totally. Okay, so you've got the smile down, good eye contact. Now we can talk about the actual words.
Finally. Lay it on me.
Start with the basics. Your name, where you're from, what you do. But then...
There's a but then.
Okay, I'm intrigued. The guide suggests adding one interesting fact about yourself.
Ooh, I like that. That's how you stand out, right?
Yeah, it's all about making yourself memorable.
But what kind of interesting fact? I feel like this could go wrong easily.
It definitely could. The key is authenticity. It's got to be something genuinely you, not just something you think sounds impressive.
So I like to read is probably not going to cut it.
Unless you're reading ancient scrolls in their original language, probably not. Think about hobbies, passions, maybe a funny story that's short and sweet.
So it's like a little sneak peek into your personality. Okay, I'm getting this. So we've got the smile, the basics, the interesting fact. What's next?
Now, this might seem a little counterintuitive,
Whoa.
but the guide is big on politeness, it's nice to meet you, or how are you today, kind of stuff.
Okay, but how is that going to make me seem confident? It seems so basic.
It's subtle. Think about it. If you're nervous, you might rush through the intro, right? Sound a little abrupt.
Yeah, that's totally me.
But taking a moment to be polite, it shows you're comfortable, respectful.
So it's even though the words themselves are simple, they're sending a message about how I'm feeling.
Exactly. You're present in the moment, not just trying to get the intro over with.
Okay, I can see that. I never thought about it that way before.
It can make a big difference, especially if you're meeting someone for the first time. Now, the next part is where things get really interesting. This is where we tailor the introduction based on the context.
Context,
Yeah.
Who I'm talking to and why.
Exactly. The guide talks about focusing on either your goals or your interests.
Okay, so goals. When would I want to lead with those?
Imagine you're in a job interview.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. You want to seem ambitious.
Exactly. So instead of just saying your job title, you might say something like, I'm passionate about whatever your field is, and I'm really excited to see how I could contribute to your team.
That's way better than just, hi, I'm your name, I'm an accountant.
Right.
Yeah.
You're showing them where you want to go, not just where you've been.
Okay, so flip side.
Yeah.
When would I talk about my interests?
Think more like a social setting, a party, networking event.
Where you actually want to have a conversation with people.
Right. So I'm an accountant isn't going to be a great opener there.
No kidding. I can already feel the awkward silence.
But what if you said something like, I spend my days crunching numbers, but my real passion is restoring vintage motorcycles. I'm actually working on a 60s Triumph right now.
Okay, now that's a conversation starter.
Right. It shows there's more to you than just your job. People connect with that.
This is making me rethink my whole approach to introductions. It's not just about getting information across, it's about creating a connection.
Exactly. Okay, ready for the next tip.
Hit me.
End your intro with a question.
Oh, good one. But not like a yes-no question, right? Those are conversation killers.
You got it. The guide is all about open-ended questions.
So instead of do you like movies, I should ask, what kind of movies are you into?
Exactly. It invites a real response, plus it shifts the focus to the other person.
Which takes the pressure off me. But there's got to be more to it than that, right? Like, what's the psychology behind it?
Well, think about it. When you ask a good open-ended question, you're giving them a chance to share something about themselves.
And people like talking about themselves.
Most do. It's a subtle way of making them feel good, and it encourages them to engage with you.
So I'm making them feel good. They're more likely to want to keep talking to me. Smart.
It's all about those subtle cues. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. We've got the smile, the basics, the interesting fact, politeness, tailoring to the context, and ending with a question.
Phew. My head's spinning, but in a good way. It's amazing how many things I was doing wrong before.
We all do it, but there's one more crucial piece to this puzzle.
I have a feeling I know what it is. Practice.
You got it. Even with the best material, you got to practice to make it feel natural.
Okay, so that's what we'll tackle next time.
Exactly. We'll get into some specific strategies for practicing introductions so you can nail them every time.
So we've got all these great tips for introductions, but I don't know about you, but I get nervous. Like I can totally see myself fumbling over my words in the moment.
Oh yeah, me too. That's why practice is so important.
Right. But it's not just about memorizing a script, is it?
Not at all. It's more about, really getting comfortable with the ideas, making them second nature.
Like building muscle memory, but for talking.
Yeah, exactly. It's like learning to dance or something. At first, you're all stiff and awkward, but the more you practice,
the more you just kind of flow with it.
Yeah, exactly. You're not even thinking about the steps anymore. You're just feeling the music.
Okay, so how do we actually practice this? I mean, talking to the mirror only gets you so far.
It depends what you're prepping for. Like, for a job interview, role-playing can be super helpful.
Oh, right. Like, get a friend to be the interviewer, put you on the spot.
Yeah, exactly. That way you get used to the pressure. Oh, and another good one is to record yourself.
Ugh, I hate listening to recordings of myself.
They know it's painful. But you can really hear things you wouldn't notice otherwise.
Like all my ums and ahs, probably.
Yeah, those filler words. You can work on smoothing them out.
It's true. I've done that for presentations at work, and it really helps. Wait, you know what else could be good? Maybe, like, hiring a coach.
Oh, yeah, there are totally coaches who specialize in this kind of stuff.
Seriously?
Yeah.
I had no idea. But it makes sense. It's like we invest in learning so many other skills. Why not communication?
Right. It's so important. But okay, for more everyday stuff, like just meeting new people, you can practice in lower stakes situations.
Lower stakes.
Yeah, like chat with the barista at your coffee shop or the cashier at the store.
Just get used to striking up conversations.
Exactly. It's good practice. Plus, you might brighten someone's day.
Okay. I like that. It's less scary than like a networking event.
Right. And the more you do it, the more natural it becomes.
I'm starting to get this. It's really a whole mindset shift, isn't it? It's not just about the words. It's about how you approach those first interactions.
Yeah, for sure. It's about showing up authentically and confidently.
Right. Okay. Let's do a quick recap of everything we've talked about today.
Okay, so starting with nonverbal cues, the Duchenne smile. Good eye contact.
Makes you seem approachable and trustworthy.
Yeah. Then we layer in those basic details. Name, where you're from, what you do.
But then the magic happens. We add that one interesting fact to make ourselves stand out.
And don't forget the politeness. It might seem basic, but it actually sends a really important message.
Right, like you're calm, you're respectful, you're not just rushing to get it over with.
Exactly. And then, depending on the situation, we highlight either our goals or our interests.
Goals for job interviews, to show ambition, interests for social settings, to spark a conversation.
Exactly. And to finish strong. That open-ended question.
Keeps the conversation flowing and makes the other person feel good. It's genius.
And don't forget about practice.
Oh, yeah. I got to practice.
Whether it's role-playing, recording ourselves, or just chatting with people in everyday situations.
This has been so helpful. I'm actually starting to feel excited about introductions now, not just terrified.
That's great. And earlier you mentioned something about going beyond spoken introductions.
Oh, yeah. You said these ideas could be applied to like online profiles and stuff. I want to hear more about that.
We'll dive into all that next time.
Yeah. So it's not just about like what you say when you meet someone face to face.
Exactly. It's bigger than that.
So like my LinkedIn profile, that little about me section that I always struggle with.
Think of that as an introduction too.
Okay. So instead of just listing my skills and experience,
you can use those same principles we've been talking about. The interesting fact, maybe even ending with a question that encourages people to connect with you.
Ooh, that's clever. Like what kind of question?
Maybe something like, I'm really passionate about mentoring new designers, so if you're just starting out in the field, feel free to reach out.
Oh, I like that. It's inviting, but also shows what I care about.
Right. And it could spark conversations, lead to collaborations.
Yeah, I'm seeing my whole online presence differently now. It's like every interaction is a chance to make a first impression.
That's a great way to think about it. And don't forget email introductions too.
Oh, yeah. Those can be awkward.
Instead of just, hi, I'm so-and-so, attached as my resume.
It's news?
Right. You can briefly mention a shared interest or how your skills connect to their needs.
So you're standing out from all those other generic emails.
Exactly. It all comes back to being memorable and showing your personality.
This has been so eye-opening. I feel like I've got a whole new arsenal of communication tools now.
That's the goal. Remember, though, confidence takes practice.
Yeah, it's not like I'll suddenly be amazing at all of this overnight.
Of course not. But the more you use these strategies, the more natural they'll feel. And don't be afraid to experiment.
Experiment.
Yeah, like try different approaches and see what works best for you. Every situation is a little different, right?
That's true. And I guess, like, the more I practice, the less I'll overthink it and the more I can just be myself.
Exactly. That's the key. Authenticity. People connect with that. When you're genuine, it shines through.
Okay, I'm going to try to remember that. No more hiding behind generic intros.
That's the spirit. Go out there and rock those first impressions.
I will. This has been such a fantastic deep dive. Thank you so much for all these insights.
My pleasure. It's been fun exploring all this with you. And hey, remember, the more you practice, the more confident you'll become. And that confidence will spread.
Oh, I like that. So by being more confident in ourselves, we might actually help other people feel more confident too.
Exactly. It's like a ripple effect. So go out there, make those connections, and watch the confidence grow.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at idioms for expressing feelings.
Oh yeah, idioms. Those are fun.
Yeah, and I think they can be kind of tricky to learn, especially for people who are, learning English as a second language.
Definitely.
So we're going to try to break them down and make them a little bit easier to understand. And we're going to be using this awesome source material that's organized by emotion.
That's smart.
Yeah, so we'll start with happiness, then we'll move on to sadness, anger, love, and affection, and even embarrassment and shame.
Wow, the whole gamut.
Yeah, the whole emotional roller coaster. So buckle up and get ready for a fun ride.
I'm excited.
Me too.
Oop.
Okay, so let's dive right in and start with happiness.
Okay.
One of the most common idioms for happiness is over the moon. Like, I was over the moon when I got the job.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But where does that even come from? Like, is there really someone living on the moon who's just like super happy all the time?
Uh-huh. Well, some linguists think it might actually be connected to that image of the man on the moon from folklore. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like happiness just launches you right up there with it.
Oh, never thought of it that way. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so another classic happiness idiom is tickled pink. Like, I was tickled pink when I received that unexpected gift.
It's a cute one.
Yeah, but it kind of sounds a little old-fashioned to me.
It is an older idiom. It actually dates back to the 19th century.
Really?
Yeah. And get this, it used to be tickled pink and blue.
Pink and blue.
Yeah. No one really knows why the blue got dropped, but maybe it just didn't sound as good.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to another idiom that I feel like I use all the time. On cloud nine.
Oh, yeah, another classic.
Yeah, like I was on cloud nine after my vacation.
It really captures that feeling of pure bliss.
Yeah, like you're just floating on air.
Well, funnily enough, even cloud nine has its roots in something pretty practical: meteorology.
Meteorology, you mean like the weather?
Exactly. Early weather maps used to number cloud formations, and the highest, most impressive type was number 9. Wow, so being on cloud nine is like being at the top of the weather chart.
Pretty much. It symbolizes peak happiness.
That's amazing. I never knew that.
Yeah, idioms can come from the most unexpected places.
Okay, so we've covered over the moon, tickled pink, and on cloud nine. What other happiness idioms do we have in our source material?
Let's see. We have in high spirits and walking on air.
Ooh, I like walking on air. It really paints a picture.
Yeah, it emphasizes that light, buoyant feeling of intense happiness.
But would you ever use walking on air in a formal setting?
That's a good question. Probably not. It might sound a little too casual.
Yeah, like you wouldn't say, I'm walking on air about this business deal.
Right, exactly. It's all about matching your language to the situation.
So it's kind of like choosing the right outfit for the occasion.
Exactly. You wouldn't wear a ball gown to the grocery store.
True, very true. Okay, so before we move on to sadness, is there anything else we should keep in mind about these happiness idioms?
Well, I think it's important to remember that they often have slightly different shades of meaning.
Oh, like what do you mean?
Well, for example, over the moon implies a more intense, almost ecstatic happiness,
Right.
while tickled pink suggests a gentler, more playful kind of delight.
So it's not just about knowing the definition, it's about understanding the nuance.
Exactly. It's like choosing the right spice to add to your dish.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
So we're not just learning words, we're becoming language chefs.
Exactly.
I love it. Okay, so now that we've explored the sunny side of things, are you ready to dive into the blue hues of sadness?
Let's do it.
All right, bring on the tissues.
All right, so we're ready to dive into sadness idioms.
Yeah, let's get those tissues ready.
Haha. All right, well, let's start with a really common one, down in the dumps. Like, I've been feeling down in the dumps ever since I lost my job.
Yeah, that one's a classic. But I always wondered, does it actually have anything to do with being in a literal garbage dump?
Uh-huh. That's a good question. Well, some linguists believe it might come from the Dutch word domp.
Dump.
Yeah, it means dull or gloomy, so it's more about that heavy, listless feeling than an actual location. Huh.
Oh, that makes sense. So it's not about being surrounded by trash. It's about feeling like trash.
Pretty much.
Okay, another sadness idiom that uses color is feeling blue.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, but it seems a bit milder than down in the dumps, right?
You're right. Feeling blue usually suggests a more temporary sadness.
Like a passing cloud.
Exactly. While down in the dumps implies something a bit more persistent.
Like a storm cloud.
Yeah, good analogy. And it's interesting how colors can be so powerful in conveying emotions.
Makes me wonder if blue is associated with sadness in other cultures too.
That's a great point. Actually, in some cultures, yellow or even purple are associated with sadness.
Really?
Yeah, it just goes to show how language and culture are so intertwined.
Okay, so we've got 2 shades of blue sadness. What else do we have?
Well, there's a heavy heart.
Oh yeah, like she had a heavy heart after her grandmother passed away.
Exactly. It uses that physical weight metaphor to convey a deep sadness, often associated with loss.
That's powerful.
Yeah. And then we have crying over spilled milk.
Oh yeah, my mom used to say that one all the time.
It's a classic. But it can be a bit controversial, right?
Yeah, like what if the milk was really important?
Haha. Well, the point of the idiom isn't really about the milk. It's about accepting what's happened and moving on.
So don't dwell on the past?
Right. It's about focusing on the future.
Okay, that makes sense. What's the last sadness idiom we have?
Let's see. It's hit rock bottom.
Oh, that one sounds pretty intense.
Yeah. It's definitely reserved for those moments of utter despair and hopelessness.
Like when you feel like there's nowhere lower to go.
Exactly. It's the emotional equivalent of being at the very bottom of a deep, dark pit.
Okay, well, we've certainly explored the full spectrum of sadness with these idioms.
Yeah, from those fleeting blue moments to the crushing weight of despair.
I'm ready for a little pick-me-up now.
Yeah.
How about we move on to some more heartwarming idioms?
Sounds good to me. Let's explore the language of love and affection.
Okay, I'm feeling a little warmer and fuzzier already.
Or,
All right, so we've made it through the ups and downs, the highs and lows of all these emotion idioms.
yeah, quite a range, right?
Yeah. And you know what I think it's really cool how these idioms, they really add a lot of like personality to the language.
Definitely. They're like little bursts of color.
Exactly. It's not just like saying I'm happy. It's like I'm on cloud 9.
Right. It's so much more expressive.
Yeah. And it's not just about memorizing a bunch of phrases either. It's about understanding like the nuances,
Oh, for sure. The origin.
the context, all that stuff.
Yeah, like you wouldn't use kick the bucket to describe someone winning the lottery.
No, definitely not. That'd be a bit confusing.
Yeah, so it's about choosing the right idiom for the right situation.
It's like having a whole toolkit of expressions.
Exactly. And the more you use them, the more comfortable you'll become.
Practice makes perfect.
Exactly. And you know what? Even if you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world.
That's right.
Just laugh it off.
Yeah, language is all about having fun.
And experimenting.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive, is there anything else you'd like to add?
I guess I just hope that people will walk away from this with a new appreciation for idioms.
Yeah.
They're really powerful tools for communication.
And don't forget, language is always changing.
Oh, for sure.
So keep your ears open. You might hear some brand new idioms out there.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe you'll even invent one yourself.
That's a great thought. Okay, well, that about wraps up our deep dive into idioms for expressing feelings.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us.
And we'll catch you next time for another linguistic adventure.
All right. Get ready, because today we're taking a deep dive into English idioms.
Idioms.
You know those phrases that don't mean exactly what the words say?
Like pick the bucket.
Exactly. They're so important if you really want to understand English, especially the way people talk.
Makes sense.
We've got a list of 25 essential idioms to explore today.
25. Sounds like a challenge.
It is, but it's going to be fun, I promise. I'm really looking forward to unpacking these with you.
All right, let's get started. Where do we begin?
Okay, let's jump right in. Let's take a look at break the ice and beat around the bush. What do you think when you see those two together?
Well, they both seem to be about, like, starting conversations,
Yeah,
but in totally different ways.
right. Break the ice is like diving right in.
Exactly. Like making that first move.
And our source even mentions telling a joke, to loosen everyone up.
Exactly, like at a party where everyone's a bit stiff.
Yeah. Okay, let's get this party started. But then beat around the bush is totally different.
Oh, yeah, it's like you're avoiding the main point.
Exactly, like you're tiptoeing around something awkward or sensitive.
And, sometimes it's not just personal preference.
What do you mean?
Well, some cultures are very direct, while others think that's rude. So these idioms, they reflect those unspoken rules of communication.
I see. So it's not just about the words, but the culture behind them, too.
Exactly.
Okay, let's move on to another pair. Bite the bullet and a blessing in disguise. They almost seem to go together, don't they? Like facing a challenge, but then finding something good in it.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Bite the bullet, I always think old war movies,
Oh, right.
when they had to bite down on something during surgery.
Ouch.
It's about dealing with something unpleasant, but necessary. No escaping it.
Right, like sometimes you just gotta push through the tough stuff.
And that's where a blessing in disguise comes in, right? What seems bad at first actually turns out good.
Totally. It's like missing a flight that ends up being delayed.
And you avoid some travel nightmare. I actually have a personal blessing in disguise story.
Oh, do tell.
Well, I almost got rejected for a job I really wanted.
Oof, I've been there.
I was crushed. But then I ended up getting a much better opportunity.
Wow, so sometimes a closed door leads to a better one opening.
Exactly.
All right, next up is a group of idioms that, they seem to be about consequences. Cut corners, get out of hand, and cost an arm and a leg. I'm sensing a theme of caution here.
Yeah, definitely. Cut corners. I think everyone's done that at some point.
Oh, yeah, like trying to save time on a project.
But often you end up with a worse result.
It's like that saying, haste makes waste.
Exactly.
And then get out of hand, that feels like things spiraling out of control.
Like a small argument that turns into a huge fight.
Yeah, or a party that gets way too wild.
It's about losing control, basically.
And then we've got cost an arm and a leg. I think that one speaks for itself. We all know that feeling of encountering something ridiculously expensive.
Like, ouch, my wallet.
So we've got warnings about shortcuts, losing control, and spending way too much. Do you think there's a message here, like culturally? Maybe about being careful and planning ahead.
Interesting. Like, these idioms are passing down wisdom.
Maybe.
Okay, let's move on to a set of idioms that are all about communication. We've got hit the nail on the head, let the cat out of the bag, pull someone's leg, and spill the beans. What do you think? Any common thread here?
Well, they're all about talking, obviously.
Right.
But with the different angles,
Yeah, like hit the nail on the head is about saying something perfectly.
Right. Like you're expressing exactly what everyone's thinking.
It's that feeling of, yes, that's exactly it. But then let the cat out of the bag. It's like, whoops, you revealed the secret.
Oops. I do that sometimes.
Me too.
Right.
Though I'm curious, do you know where that saying comes from? Let the cat out of the bag?
I think it's from a long time ago when people sold things like pigs in bag.
Pigs in bag.
Yeah. And sometimes dishonest sellers would swap the pig for a cat, which is obviously worth less. Oh, sneaky.
So when you open the bag, you let the cat out of the bag and reveal the trick.
Wow, that's fascinating. It makes the idiom even more vivid, doesn't it? But we also have spill the beans, which is similar, right? Is there a difference, or are they basically the same?
I'd say spill the beans is more casual, like you accidentally let something slip.
Ah, okay. Like dropping a hint without meaning to.
Exactly. While let the cat out of the bag is a bigger reveal, often with bigger consequences.
Okay, I see the difference now. So spill the beans is like a little leak, and let the cat out of the bag is the whole dam breaking.
That's a good way to put it.
And then, we can't forget, pull someone's leg. That one brings in a bit of humor.
Oh yeah, it's all about teasing, but in a fun way.
Right, not mean-spirited.
Exactly. You're just messing with them a little.
I'm a big fan of a good leg pull. It relies on that shared understanding that you're just joking around.
Exactly. It's all in good fun.
I love how these idioms highlight the complexity of communication.
It really is fascinating.
It's not just about the words themselves. It's about social cues, relationships, humor, so much more.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit and explore some idioms about effort, persistence, and knowing when to quit. We've got call it a day, burn the midnight oil, hit the books, and throw in the towel. What jumps out at you with these?
Well, they seem to be about different stages of dealing with a task.
Yeah, like call it a day is about knowing when to stop.
You've done enough. Time for a break.
Exactly, giving yourself permission to rest. And then burn the midnight oil is the opposite.
Working late into the night, pushing yourself.
Yeah, those all-nighters in college.
Exactly. I remember pulling a few of those myself.
I practically lived by the phrase hit the books back then. But I also learned the hard way that sometimes even all that effort isn't enough.
Right, and that's when you might need to throw in the towel.
It's about knowing when to give up on something, even if it's hard.
Choosing your battles wisely, I guess.
Exactly. It's a tough lesson, especially in today's world where everyone's always pushing to do more.
It's all about balance, I think.
Okay, let's move on to a pair that's all about action and getting things done. Actions speak louder than words, and kill two birds with one stone. I'm sure our listeners are familiar with these, but I'm always curious to hear your take.
Well, actions speak louder than words. That's a classic for a reason.
Right?
It's a reminder that what you do matters more than what you say.
It's about walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Exactly. And then we have kill two birds with one stone, which is all about being efficient, getting more done with less effort.
Oh, I love trying to kill two birds with one stone. Like right now I'm learning about idioms and getting some exercise.
Because you're walking while we record.
Exactly. Multitasking at its finest. It's like finding those little hacks that make life easier.
I like it.
All right. This next group of idioms is all about avoidance, uncertainty, and, well, impossible things. We've got let sleeping dogs lie, on the fence, and when pigs fly. What are your thoughts on these?
They seem to be about being cautious, avoiding trouble, not rushing into things.
Yeah, like let sleeping dogs lie. It's that feeling of don't stir up trouble if you don't have to.
Exactly. Sometimes it's best to just leave things as they are.
Right. Like that old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
And then on the fence, that's all about being indecisive.
Oh, that's me all the time. I can overthink the simplest decisions.
We all do it sometimes. It's that feeling of being stuck, not sure which way to go.
Exactly. And then there's when pigs fly, which is our way of saying something's impossible.
Yeah, like, sure, that'll happen when pigs fly.
That's a fun way to express disbelief, right?
Totally.
Okay. Our last set of idioms for this part of our deep dive is about pushing limits and making situations worse. We've got bite off more than you can chew and add fuel to the fire. I have a feeling these will resonate with a lot of our listeners.
Oh, for sure. Bite off more than you can chew. That's a common one.
Yeah, especially these days when everyone's so busy.
You take on too much and then you're overwhelmed.
It's like that feeling of, oh no, what have I gotten myself into?
Exactly. It's a good reminder to be realistic about what you can handle.
And then we have add fuel to the fire. That's all about making a bad situation worse.
Like instead of calming things down, you escalate the conflict.
It's a powerful image, right? Pouring gasoline on the flames.
Definitely. It's a reminder to think before you speak or act, especially when things are heated.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive. From breaking the ice to adding fuel to the fire, it's amazing how much these little phrases can tell us about human nature and how we navigate the world.
It really is.
And we're just getting started. Stay tuned for more fascinating idioms in part 2 of our deep dive.
I can't wait. It's amazing how much you can learn about a culture just by looking at their idioms.
You know, you're right. It's not just expanding my vocabulary. It's like gaining a deeper understanding of how people think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But, it's not enough to just understand what they mean.
What do you mean?
Well, to really master idioms, you have to be able to use them yourself in conversation,
That's true. It's one thing to recognize them, but another to actually use them naturally.
Right. It's like learning a new dance move. At first, it feels awkward. But with practice, it becomes second nature.
I like that analogy. So any tips on how to actually start using idioms in my everyday conversations?
Well, I'd say start with the ones that you really connect with, the ones that feel natural to you. Don't force it. Just let them come out organically.
Okay, so don't try to cram in every idiom I know.
Exactly. Just sprinkle them in when it feels right. And don't be afraid to experiment. Try them out in different situations and see what happens.
Like a little language lab.
Exactly. And pay attention to how other people react. You will learn a lot that way. And remember, context is key.
Context?
Yeah, like an idiom might mean something slightly different depending on the situation.
Okay, so I need to be observant.
Exactly. And don't be shy about asking questions. If you hear someone use an idiom you don't understand, just ask.
Good point. People are usually happy to explain.
Most of the time, yeah.
It's interesting, thinking back on some of the idioms we've discussed, there are a few that really stuck with me, like a blessing in disguise.
Oh, yeah. It's a good reminder that things aren't always what they seem.
Right. What seems bad at first might actually turn out to be good.
It's all about perspective.
Yeah.
Like those optical illusions where you have to look at it from a different angle to see the hidden image.
I love that. It's about training your mind to see the possibilities, even in the tough times. And that reminds me of another idiom, bite the bullet. Sometimes you just got to face those unpleasant tasks head on.
No escaping them, right?
Right, like ripping off a Band-Aid, the faster you do it, the less it hurts. But hey, let's not forget the fun ones too, like pull someone's leg.
Oh, I love that one. A good leg pull can really lighten the mood.
It's all about that shared understanding that you're just joking around.
Exactly. It's a fun way to connect with people.
Okay, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to come back to actions speak louder than words. It's a powerful reminder that it's not just what you say, but what you do that really matters.
Couldn't agree more. It's about walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Exactly. Living a life that reflects your values, making a real difference in the world. All right. I'm excited to see what other idioms we uncover in the next part of our deep dive.
Me too. There's so many more to explore. It's really amazing how much these idioms tell us about, the human experience.
It's true. It's like they capture these universal truths about life,
Totally. We have idioms for facing challenges, like bite the bullet.
Right.
And then we have ones for celebrating those unexpected good things, like a blessing in disguise.
It's like they give us a language for talking about all the things we all go through, no matter who we are or where we're from.
Exactly. And the more you learn about idioms, the more you start to see them everywhere.
Oh, yeah. In books, movies, songs, everyday conversations, it's like you've unlocked a secret code.
Right. And that code helps you understand people better, connect with them on a deeper level.
So to our listeners out there, I really encourage you to, embrace these idioms, make them your own.
Yeah, don't be afraid to experiment, play around with them, see how they fit into your own way of speaking.
Because at the end of the day, language is about expression, about connecting with others, about sharing your thoughts and experiences with the world.
In idioms, they're like a fun and colorful way to do just that.
So go out there and idiomify your conversations.
Exactly. Have fun with it.
You might be surprised at how much you enjoy it and how much closer it brings you to the people around you.
Absolutely.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into English idioms.
It's been a fun journey.
I hope you enjoyed it, listeners. And remember, keep exploring, keep learning. There's always more to discover about the amazing world of language.
That's right. Until next time, keep diving deep.
Okay, so ready to dive into something kind of interesting?
Always.
All right, so this masterclass script we found claims it can get you to advanced English fluency
Oh, wow.
in just 1 hour.
Okay.
Pretty bold claim, right?
Yeah, an hour to fluency.
Yeah, so we're going to break it down, see if it lives up to the hype.
That's a good.
Maybe you're someone who's prepping for a presentation or just brushing up on your English skills. Or maybe you're just curious about language learning hacks. Whatever your reason, we're going to dig into this script, see what it offers.
Unearth those nuggets.
Exactly. Unearth the nuggets, see what it really has to offer.
Yeah.
And what I thought was interesting is right away, it kind of skips the usual grammar drills and vocab lists.
Right.
It jumps right into like the practical stuff, how to sound more confident, how to adapt to different situations, really just connect with your language.
I like that. That's a good approach.
Yeah, I thought so too.
It's very practical.
Yeah, and one of the first things it encourages you to do is use contractions naturally.
Okay.
You know, like saying I've done it differently instead of I would have done it differently.
Yeah.
Simple, but it makes your speech flow better, I think.
Absolutely, yeah, it does.
And that leads right into this idea of connected speech.
Right.
You know, the script points out how native speakers often link words together.
Right.
So, for example, what do you want to do becomes what I want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
It might feel a little awkward at first,
Yeah.
but it's a key to sounding more natural.
Yeah, I agree.
So I can see how that would take some getting used to, especially if you've been trained to pronounce each word carefully.
Absolutely.
But I can also see how it would make you sound more like a native speaker.
For sure.
Now, the script also doesn't shy away from some challenging vocabulary either.
Oh, okay.
So there are words like ephemeral, resilient, ambivalent, even ostentatious and serendipitous.
Wow.
Do you think they chose those words for a specific reason or just trying to impress people?
Well, I think it's a mix of both.
Okay.
Because, expanding your vocabulary is important.
Right.
But they are carefully chosen to be kind of memorable.
Yeah.
And impactful. Like they use ephemeral to describe a sunset.
Oh, right.
It kind of helps you grab the meaning of the word.
Yeah.
But then also appreciate the nuances of it.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's not just about sounding smart. It's about using the right words to express yourself clearly.
Exactly.
And speaking of colorful language, they've also included some idioms in this.
Okay.
Things like burning the midnight oil, bite the bullet on the same wavelength.
Right.
Are those common idioms that someone might encounter in everyday conversation?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Idioms can be tricky because their meaning isn't always clear.
Right.
But they add so much personality and cultural flavor to your English.
Like on the same wavelength is a good way to describe clicking with someone.
Right, when you're just like, we get each other.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that one too. You could easily use that in conversation, whether you're networking or just hanging out with friends.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to something the script emphasizes quite a bit, pronunciation.
Right.
It's not just about saying the words correctly.
Right.
It's about intonation.
Yes.
Stress and rhythm.
That's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
They even point out how just changing the stress on a word can change the meaning entirely.
Yeah, like photograph versus photography.
Exactly.
Yeah, simple shift, but a world of difference.
A big difference.
It's amazing how much nuance there is to pronunciation.
For sure.
And the script actually encourages you to play around with it.
Oh.
They suggest you practice different sentences with rising and falling tones.
Oh, interesting.
To see how it changes the meaning
Yeah.
of what you're saying.
I like that. So pronunciation is definitely a key element of sounding more fluent.
It is, for sure.
But the script doesn't just give you these tips and leave you to figure it out on your own.
Right.
They actually try to tie it all together in a real-world scenario,
Okay.
a networking event.
Interesting. Okay.
And it's not just a generic script about exchanging business cards or whatever.
Right.
They've woven in those elements of fluency that we've been talking about. So they suggest starting with a confident introduction, but then using a more engaging question to spark a real conversation.
Ooh, I like that.
Something like, what inspired you to get into your field?
That's a good question.
Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, it's open-ended, shows genuine interest,
Right.
and it avoids those typical small talk cliches.
Exactly.
So-
I like that question too. And they encourage you to build on that initial connection. Instead of just nodding and saying, that's interesting,
Right.
they suggest transitioning smoothly with a comment or a question that shows you're actively listening.
Yeah.
Something like, that's fascinating. Have you considered expanding into other markets?
Oh, nice.
What do you think?
Yeah, I like that. It shows you're engaged, you're thoughtful. Yeah.
So this networking scenario is where they try to bring all the pieces together.
Okay.
It's where you can put those fluency techniques into practice.
Right.
But the big question remains,
What's it?
can you really achieve all of this in just 1 hour?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm a little skeptical about achieving complete fluency in such a short time,
Okay.
but the script does a good job of highlighting the most important areas to focus on. I think it gives you a taste of what's possible, and that's a valuable starting point.
So maybe it's more about giving you a framework, a set of tools and techniques that can help you continue to develop your fluency. It's like a jumpstart, not a complete overhaul. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it succeeds in that.
Okay.
The script is packed with practical tips and exercises.
Yeah.
And even if it takes you more than an hour to master everything, you can start implementing some of these strategies right away.
So it's not about instant fluency, but about gaining valuable insights and building a solid foundation.
Exactly.
And speaking of building a foundation, I'm curious what the script says about practice and immersion.
Yeah.
After all, even the best techniques won't get you very far without consistent effort.
You're absolutely right. Fluency is a journey, not a destination. You've got to immerse yourself in the language as much as possible. Speak fearlessly. Constantly reflect and refine your skills.
So it's not just about completing the masterclass. It's about integrating these techniques into your daily life.
Exactly.
Making English a part of your routine.
That's the key.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive.
We have.
But there's much more to unpack.
Lots more.
So stay tuned for part 2, where we'll explore even more tips and strategies for achieving advanced English fluency.
Looking forward to it. Welcome back. So last time, we were talking about how this script emphasizes practical skills over rote memorization.
Right.
We touched on connected speech, vocabulary building, even using idioms effectively.
Yeah.
But we left off on a bit of a cliffhanger.
Oh, yeah, pronunciation.
Yeah, that whole pronunciation piece.
The script suddenly turned into a vocal coach.
Right.
Yeah, urging you to pay attention to things like intonation, stress, and rhythm.
Exactly.
So I'm ready to dive deeper into those pronunciation secrets. Where do we start?
Well, we already touched on how word stress can completely change a word's meaning.
Right, like with photograph versus photography.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the script takes it a step further. It highlights sentence stress as well.
Oh, okay.
It shows you how emphasizing different words within a sentence can dramatically alter its meaning.
Okay, do you have an example?
Of course. So they use the phrase, I didn't say H.E. stole the money.
Okay.
Now imagine stressing each word in turn.
Right.
You could be accusing different people.
Oh, wow.
Or even denying the accusation entirely just by shifting the emphasis.
That's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Like it adds a whole other layer of meaning.
Right.
Yeah, beyond the words themselves.
Exactly.
And then there's intonation, the rising and falling tones of our voice.
Yes.
So the script suggests practicing with simple phrases like, I can't believe it. With a rising tone, that's amazing. With a falling tone.
Yeah.
Do those small changes really make that much of a difference?
Absolutely. Think of it like adding punctuation to your spoken words.
Oh, okay.
A rising tone at the end of a sentence can turn a statement into a question.
Right.
While a falling tone can express certainty, finality.
Okay.
It's crucial for conveying your meaning and sounding more natural.
So it's like adding emotion and emphasis to your words.
Excellent.
Is this something that people often struggle with when learning English?
It can be.
Okay.
Especially for learners whose native languages have different intonation patterns.
Right.
But the good news is it's something you can improve with practice.
Okay, good.
The script even suggests recording yourself speaking.
Oh, wow.
And listening back.
I know. It can be cringy.
It can be, but it's a great way to identify areas where your intonation might need a little work.
Yeah, for sure. I can see how that'd be helpful.
Yeah.
Even if it's a little embarrassing at first.
That's a good tool.
So are there any other techniques that the script recommends for improving pronunciation?
Well, they suggest some interesting exercises.
Okay.
Like repeating phrases while exaggerating the intonation and stress patterns.
So just really going over the top with it.
Yeah, it might feel silly, but it helps to really internalize the rhythm and flow of the language.
I'm all for silly if it works.
Me too.
Like a workout for your voice.
Exactly. Another technique is called shadowing, where you listen to a native speaker and try to mimic their pronunciation and intonation.
Oh, interesting.
You can use podcasts, audiobooks, even movie scenes.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Like having a personal pronunciation coach right in your ear.
Exactly. Plus, it's a fun way to immerse yourself in the language.
And speaking of immersion, the script emphasizes that a lot.
Right.
It encourages you to surround yourself with English as much as possible.
Yes. Watch movies, listen to music, read books, chat with native speakers if you can.
Yeah.
The key is to make English a part of your daily life.
not just something you study in a textbook.
Exactly.
You know, it's interesting they bring up immersion.
Yeah.
Because earlier when we were discussing those advanced vocabulary words, I was thinking, how often is someone really going to use a word like ostentatious in casual conversation?
Right.
But if you're immersing yourself in the language, you're bound to come across it in different contexts.
Exactly. That's a great point.
Yeah.
Immersion helps you absorb those nuances of the language in a way that just memorizing definitions can't.
Right.
You start to understand how words are used in different situations.
Yeah.
You develop a more natural feel for the language.
So immersion isn't just about practicing speaking.
Right.
It's about absorbing the language through listening, reading, and watching.
Yes, making it a part of your overall experience.
Okay, let's shift gears for a moment and revisit that networking scenario.
Right.
I'm curious to hear more about how they incorporate all these fluency techniques into that real-world situation.
Sure. So you remember that the scenario starts with a confident introduction,
Right.
but then they encourage you to move beyond the typical small talk.
Mm-hmm.
Ask a more engaging question.
Like, what inspired you to get into your field?
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that question.
It's a great way to show genuine interest
Right.
and start a more meaningful conversation.
What else do they recommend?
They suggest transitioning smoothly to related topics. You know, showing that you're actively listening and adding to the conversation. You might say something like, "That's fascinating. Have you considered expanding into other markets?"
Okay, yeah.
Keeps the conversation flowing, and it allows you to showcase your knowledge and insights
Right.
without being too pushy.
It's all about finding that balance
Yeah,
between being confident and being engaging.
for sure.
Not an easy feat.
No, it's not.
But this scenario seems to provide a pretty solid framework
It does.
for navigating those tricky social interactions.
Exactly.
Okay, so they've covered introductions,
Mhm.
engaging questions, smooth transitions, even closing the conversation gracefully.
Right.
But can you really master all that in an hour?
Well, like we said earlier, fluency is a journey,
Right?
not a destination.
Yeah.
So while an hour might not be enough to make you a master networker,
Okay.
this scenario provides a valuable blueprint.
Right.
And you can adapt these techniques to other social situations as well.
So it's about taking those core principles, confidence, clarity, adaptability,
Yes.
and applying them to any interaction where
Yeah.
you want to communicate effectively in English.
Exactly.
And that brings us to the final section of the masterclass script.
Okay.
Remember those 3 key tips they emphasized?
Immerse yourself.
Speak fearlessly.
Reflect and refine.
Right. This seemed like pretty solid pieces of advice,
Yeah.
but what do they really mean by immerse yourself?
Right.
Are they talking about moving to an English-speaking country?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
While that would certainly be immersive,
Right.
there are plenty of ways to create an English-speaking environment wherever you are.
Okay.
You know, you can watch movies and TV shows with English subtitles, listen to podcasts and audiobooks,
Right.
read news articles and blogs.
Okay.
Key is to find something you enjoy and make it a regular part of your routine.
So it's about making English a part of your everyday life,
Exactly.
not just something you study in isolation. Okay, what about that second tip? Speak fearlessly. That's easier said than done for a lot of people.
It is, yeah.
Any advice for overcoming that fear?
Well, the script encourages you to kind of reframe your thinking about mistakes.
Okay.
Instead of seeing them as failures, view them as opportunities to learn and grow.
It's about embracing the journey
Exactly.
and accepting that you're not going to be perfect right from the start.
Exactly. The more you speak, the more comfortable and confident you'll become.
Right.
Don't be afraid to seek out opportunities to practice,
Okay.
whether it's with a language partner, online communities, or even just talking to yourself in English.
Those are great suggestions.
Yeah.
Now, what about that last tip? Reflect and refine. What are some concrete ways that someone can put that into practice?
Self-awareness is key here.
Okay.
You know, record yourself speaking English, listen back to it.
Right.
Take note of areas where you could improve. Maybe it's pronunciation, maybe it's grammar, maybe it's the flow of your sentences.
Right. Yeah.
The act of listening to yourself critically can be incredibly revealing.
For sure. And these days, there are so many tools to help you do that.
There are.
Like language learning apps often have recording features. And you can even find online communities that are dedicated to pronunciation practice.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of simply paying attention to how native speakers use the language.
Oh, okay.
Listen for those subtle nuances of pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm.
Right.
The more you observe and imitate, the more natural your English will become.
So it's about being a conscious learner,
Yes,
actively seeking out feedback and working on those areas where you want to improve.
exactly.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in this second part of our deep dive.
We have.
We explored pronunciation techniques, the importance of immersion. We even revisited that networking scenario.
We did.
And we dug into those 3 key tips for continued learning.
Yes.
Immerse yourself, speak fearlessly, reflect and refine. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into this masterclass, the one that promises to unlock advanced English fluency in just an hour.
Yeah, big promises.
Huge. So we've unpacked a lot of those strategies.
Really?
We've experimented with pronunciation, even explored that networking scenario.
Yep.
Now let's step back, consider,
All right.
what are the real takeaways?
Yeah, what are the gems?
What can someone actually use to boost their English fluency?
Good question.
So it's been quite a journey, right?
It really has, yeah.
We've gone from those kind of building blocks of fluency, confidence, clarity, adaptability,
Right.
to some very specific techniques
Yeah.
like connected speech, mastering intonation, even sprinkling in some of those colorful idioms.
For sure.
I think we even played vocal coach for a while,
Oh, did.
trying out some of those pronunciation exercises.
Yeah, that was fun.
It was fun. So as we wrap up, what stands out to you as the most valuable takeaway from this whole thing?
For me, it's the focus on practical application.
Okay.
This script doesn't just throw a bunch of rules at you.
Right.
It gives you concrete examples, it encourages you to experiment, and it even puts you in a real-world situation.
Yeah, like with that networking event.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about taking those concepts and making them usable in your daily life.
Yeah, it's not about reaching some level of perfection.
Right.
It's about using the language to connect with others, to express yourself,
Yeah,
to navigate the world around you.
for sure.
And it reminds you that fluency is an ongoing journey.
It is.
It's not a destination.
Not at all.
You know, early on, I was pretty skeptical about that whole fluency in an hour thing.
Yeah, me too.
But I have to admit, this masterclass offers a pretty solid springboard for anyone who wants to improve their English.
Absolutely.
It gives you a taste of what's possible
Yeah.
and inspires you to actually take action.
For sure.
So for our listener who's been with us this whole time, taking it all in, what's the one piece of advice you would leave them with?
I would say don't wait for perfection.
Okay.
Just start speaking.
Right.
Embrace every opportunity to practice.
Yeah.
Even if it feels a bit awkward at first, every mistake is a learning opportunity.
That's true.
Each interaction brings you closer to fluency.
I love that. It's about taking those small steps,
Yeah.
being consistent, and celebrating those wins along the way.
Exactly.
And remember, you're not alone on this journey.
Not at all.
There are tons of resources out there, language learning apps, online communities, podcasts like ours,
For sure.
all there to support you.
Absolutely.
So find what works best for you. Stay curious.
Yeah.
Never stop exploring the language
I like that.
and have fun with it.
Yes.
Learning a language shouldn't feel like a chore.
No, it should be enjoyable.
It should be enriching.
Absolutely.
So embrace the challenges, celebrate your successes, and never stop trying to be the most confident and fluent version of yourself. That's a perfect note to end on. So thanks for joining us for this deep dive into English fluency.
It's been fun.
We hope you've gained some valuable insights.
Yeah.
And feel inspired to continue your own journey.
Absolutely. And now that you've heard all this, what's one area of your English fluency that you're going to focus on? Until next time, keep practicing, keep learning, and keep those language fires burning.
See you next time.
All right, so are you ready to dive in? Today, we're going to help you sound like, well, a natural English speaker.
Like you were born speaking it, right?
Exactly. And we're going to do that with a script.
Oh, a script. For what?
It's for a video for English language learners.
Cool. What's the topic?
Phrasal verbs.
Ah, phrasal verbs. Those can be tricky.
Yeah, they can be, but this script, it breaks them down by learner level.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's helpful. So we can...
Yeah, so we'll sort of jump around, find the most interesting parts no matter what your level is.
Yeah, let's uncover the secrets of sounding natural and fluent.
Exactly. So I was looking at the beginner section, and it's funny how many...
Beginner section. Okay.
Yeah, so, basic phrasal verbs. And some of them are so common we don't even think about them.
Like what?
Like get up. I mean, we all do it every morning.
It's true. We do. Or go to sleep. These are things we do every day.
Right. And even something like sit down. It's not just about taking a seat. It's like an invitation.
Yeah, it sets the scene. Like sit down, dinner's ready. Or please Sit down, make yourself comfortable.
Exactly. It adds a whole other layer of meaning.
And it's so natural.
And, another one that I thought was interesting is turn on and turn off.
Oh, yeah, we use those all the time.
Like turn on the lights, turn off the oven.
It's like we're constantly interacting with our world through these verbs.
And they often come in pairs, right?
Ooh.
With opposite meanings.
Learn one. You got the other one too?
Yeah. And another pair, put on and take off.
Oh, yeah. Clothes, shoes, you name it.
Exactly. You put on your clothes in the morning, take them off at night.
And again, it's so natural, so effortless.
It is. It's like a hidden code.
A code to unlock fluency.
I love that. Okay, what about pick up? That one's interesting because it can have multiple meanings.
Yeah, you can pick up a book, pick up your friend from the airport.
Right. The context is key.
It tells you what it means.
It's like a puzzle, but a fun one.
It is. Okay, another fun one. Look for. Everyone's always looking for something.
Right. Your keys, your phone, that missing sock.
Have you seen my keys? I've been looking for them everywhere.
Exactly. And, it's not just about physical objects.
You can look for a solution to a problem, look for information.
You're right. It's about a search, a quest.
And we're always on a quest for something, aren't we?
That's a great point. Okay, so we've talked about some pretty basic phrasal verbs.
Yeah, just the tip of the iceberg.
But now I want to get into some that add a bit more color.
Yeah, let's spice things up a bit.
Let's express some feelings, some opinions.
Let's dive deeper.
I'm ready. Are you?
Let's go! It's amazing, right, how phrasal verbs can be so simple, but also so expressive.
Yeah, it's like they add this whole other level of meaning.
Exactly. Like give up, for example.
Oh, yeah, give up. We've all been there.
Right. That feeling of, I can't do this anymore.
Like when I tried to make that 3-tiered cake for my friend's birthday, I almost gave up.
Oh, no. What happened?
The first layer, it just collapsed.
Oh, that's frustrating.
It was. I wanted to throw in the towel, but he didn't.
Well, good for you, perseverance. But you see, that's what give up captures, that feeling.
It does. Okay, what about run out of? That seems pretty basic.
It does, but it's not just about having nothing left. It's like there's a sense of urgency.
Urgency. How so?
Like running out of time on a deadline.
Oh, yeah, or running out of patience.
Exactly. Or even running out of gas in your car.
That's a good one. Okay, what about call off? Is that the same as cancel?
Well, they're similar, but call off is more sudden, more unexpected.
Oh, I see. Like calling off a wedding.
Exactly. Or calling off a search.
Wow. That does add a sense of drama.
It does. It's like everything's changing.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit. What about look after? That seems pretty simple.
It does, but it's more than just watching something. It's about taking care of it,
Oh, like looking after a child or a pet.
Yeah, or even a plant. You're responsible for it.
You're right. There's a sense of responsibility there.
Yeah.
Okay. Now this one I find interesting. Find out.
Find out. It's like discovering something new.
It is. Like a secret.
Exactly. You can find out the truth, find out someone's secret.
Or find out how a story ends.
Right. It's all about that moment of revelation.
It is. Okay. And speaking of moments, what about work out? Now that one has multiple meanings.
It does. You can work out at the gym.
Right. Get those muscles working.
Or you can work out a problem.
Find a solution.
Exactly. So versatile, right?
It is. Okay, how about throwaway? It seems pretty straightforward.
It does, but think about it. It's not just about getting rid of something.
What else could it be?
It can be about letting go, like throwing away old ideas, old habits.
Wow, I never thought of it that way.
It's like a fresh start.
I like that. Okay, last one for this round. Catch up. Now that one sounds pretty social.
It is. It's about connecting with people,
Yeah, like catching up with friends.
Exactly. Or catching up on work if you've been away.
Oh, right. So it can be social or professional.
It can. It's about bridging that gap, whatever it may be.
I like that. Okay, so we've covered some pretty interesting phrasal verbs so far.
We have, and we're just getting started.
I know. Are you ready for the advanced level?
Bring it on. I want to see what other gems we can uncover.
Okay, let's dive in. Okay, so we're back and ready to tackle some advanced phrasal verbs.
The big leagues.
I know, right? But honestly, looking at some of these, I'm a little intimidated.
Oh, which one's got you stumped?
Well, like put up with, for example. It just seems so negative.
It can be, yeah. But sometimes you need to express that feeling, like tolerating something.
Okay, I see what you mean, like putting up with noisy neighbors or something.
Exactly. Or a long commute, or even bad weather. It's about dealing with those less than ideal situations.
Okay, that makes sense. What about bring up? That one seems a bit more I don't know, delicate.
It is. It's about introducing a topic, but in a smooth way.
So not just blurting something out.
Right. Like if you want to talk about something sensitive, you bring it up carefully.
Right. I get it. Okay, now this one I always struggle with. Back out. Does it always make you sound unreliable?
Not necessarily. It can mean changing your mind, but it doesn't always have to be negative.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, imagine you agreed to go to a party, but then you get sick. You have to back out.
Oh, right. So it's not like you're breaking a promise. It's just a change of plans.
Exactly. It's all about the context.
Context is key.
Yeah.
Okay, what about step up? That one sounds more positive.
It is. It's about taking action, taking responsibility.
Like stepping up to a challenge.
Exactly. Or stepping up to help someone.
Oh, I like that. Okay, take over. Now that one sounds a bit intense.
It can be. It's about taking control of something.
I'm just taking over a company.
Yeah, or even something smaller, like taking over the cooking when your friend's tired.
Right. It's about being in charge. Okay, last one. Break down. That one seems like it has a million meanings.
It does. A car can break down, a plan can break down, even a person can break down.
Wow, so many possibilities. It's amazing how one phrasal verb can be so versatile.
It is, and that's the beauty of phrasal verbs. They add so much color and nuance to the language.
I totally agree. Well, I think we've broken down quite a few phrasal verbs today.
We have, and hopefully our listeners feel more confident using them.
Exactly. Remember, it's all about practice and having fun with the language.
Don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's how you learn.
That's right. So, to all our listeners out there, keep exploring the world of phrasal verbs. And who knows, maybe you'll even discover some new favorites along the way.
And if you do, be sure to share them with us. We'd love to hear about your phrasal verb adventures.
Until next time, happy learning. Okay, so let's be real for a sec. Small talk, right? It can be like the most awkward thing ever. Like when you're stuck in a situation and you know you should be chatting, but your mind just goes blank. Anyone else? Feel me on that. But get this. What if I told you that this deep dive could actually turn that dread into pure confidence? And we're going to do it using a source you'd never expect. A video script, get this, for people learning English.
I know, right? Sounds a little out there. But seriously, this script is full of stuff that goes way deeper than just language. It's like a secret masterclass in how humans connect, hidden inside an English lesson.
Okay, I gotta admit, when you first mentioned this source, I was kind of like, how can something for total beginners help someone who's already fluent?
That's fair, totally. But the cool thing here is, by breaking small talk down into these simple steps, it actually shows you the psychology behind how we connect. Like, it's a cheat sheet for building rapport, even if you never needed help with English in the first place.
So it's more about understanding the, deeper game, not just memorizing lines.
Exactly. For example, the script makes a big deal about greetings and weather talk, stuff we might think is just filler.
Yeah, I always thought that stuff was kind of pointless.
Right. But they actually serve a super important purpose. Like, humans are literally wired to bond over shared experiences.
Okay.
Even something as simple as complaining about the heat or, whatever the weather's doing.
Okay, yeah, I guess I can see that.
It creates that instant common ground, that we're in this together feeling, which is huge for starting any kind of connection.
Wow, that's actually so true. I never thought about it that way.
And the script goes even further. Instead of those boring old greetings like, "Hi, how are you?" it gives you phrases that fit the specific situation so you get a better response.
Oh, I like where this is going. Give me an example.
So say you're at a party. Instead of that robotic, "Hi, how are you?" try something like, "What brings you here?"
Way more interesting, right?
Way more. It's like you're actually interested, not just saying words. Exactly. It shows you're paying attention and they actually get to share something about themselves. It's what they call a strong bid in, like conversation analysis stuff. Each thing we say is a bid to connect.
Ooh, I'm digging this bidding concept. So we're all just out here trying to make the strongest bid to connect.
Totally. And this script is giving us all the winning moves. Another one they have is, instead of just saying nice weather, you could say something like, "This weather's crazy, right?"
It's like inviting the other person in on the joke. I like it.
Yeah.
So it's making small talk feel, less robotic. But what really stood out to me was the role-playing part.
Ah, yes. That's where the magic really happens. The people who made this script, they get it. Knowing the right words isn't enough. You got to actually practice using them. And role-playing is the best way to do that.
But what if you don't have someone to practice with? Isn't that kind of, weird to do alone?
For sure. But you can totally do it in your head. It's called mental rehearsal. Basically, you just picture yourself in different situations.
Hold on. So you're saying By just imagining myself rocking these small talk moments, I'm actually getting better at it in real life.
You got it. Might sound a little strange, but neuroscientists have found that when you rehearse something mentally, your brain fires up the same way it does when you're actually doing the thing.
No way. That's so cool. It's like training your brain for social situations, like a cheat code for confidence. I'm already feeling less terrified about networking events or, just parties in general.
It's crazy, right? How powerful our brains are. Like, this script really shows you how to use that power to, level up your social skills.
I like that, level up. So we've talked about greetings, weather talk, even practicing in your head. What else does this script have up its sleeve?
Okay, so one thing that really impressed me was the questions. They go way beyond those typical boring questions like, where are you from? Or what do you do? The usual suspects.
Yeah, those can be so snooze fest sometimes.
Right. Instead, they give you all these questions that are actually interesting, designed to, spark real conversations.
Okay, I'm all about those real conversations. Tell me more. Give me the good stuff.
So instead of asking, what do you do? Which can feel kind of like a job interview, They suggest asking, what do you like to do for fun?
I mean, that's a classic for a reason, right? It gets people talking about what they're actually passionate about.
Exactly. It's like you're inviting them to show you their real selves, not just their LinkedIn profile. And if you really want to go deeper, you could try something like, what's the most interesting thing you've done lately?
Ooh, I like that one. It's like a sneak peek into their adventures. You might even discover you have some cool stuff in common.
Totally. Plus, it shows you're actually curious about them, not just trying to fill the silence. And they even have specific questions for different situations. Like, if you're at a dinner party, you could ask, have you tried any good restaurants lately?
Perfect. Everyone loves talking about food. Instant conversation starter, right there.
It's true. It's something we can all relate to, like enjoying a good meal. Okay, so we've covered greetings, weather talk, asking interesting questions, even mental rehearsal. But what about when you're ready to, make your escape? Does the script help with that too?
Yeah, like how do you end a conversation without being rude?
Don't worry, they got you covered. They have a bunch of different closing phrases depending on the situation. From a simple, it was nice talking to you, to something more like, hey, we should grab coffee sometime.
Oh, I love that they include those follow-up suggestions.
Yeah.
Sometimes you really do click with someone, and it's good to have a way to, keep things going.
Exactly. It shows you're confident and interested, which is always a good look. And even if they can't meet up, it still leaves a good impression. They'll remember you as someone who actually wanted to connect.
Yeah, it's like planting a seed, right? You never know where those initial conversations might lead. What about those times when you just need a quick, casual exit, though, like you're running late or something?
No problem. They have those too. They suggest things like, catch you later or have a great day. Those are perfect for keeping it light and friendly without feeling like you have to, hang around forever.
Okay, so whether you're aiming for a lifelong friendship or just a quick chat, it sounds like this script has given us a whole toolbox for navigating the social world.
Yeah. It's like they took all the guesswork out of small talk and gave us a clear path to follow. It's pretty amazing.
And what's so cool is that this script, even though it's for people learning English, it actually shows us some really deep things about human connections, like a reminder that we all want to feel understood, even in those little everyday conversations.
So true. And I think that's what makes this deep dive so valuable. We're not just learning phrases, we're learning about what makes us human and how even a short conversation can make a difference, create a ripple effect.
It's like we're seeing the world through a whole new lens now, right?
Yeah.
And that brings us to the best part, putting it all into practice. We've talked about a lot today, the different phases of small talk, how to make a bid for connection, even practicing in your head. But now it's your turn, dear listener. Take these ideas and make them your own.
Yes. This is where the real transformation happens. We've given you the tools. Now it's up to you to use them. And remember, you don't have to be perfect. The goal isn't to become some kind of small talk robot.
Exactly. Be yourself, be genuine, and use these techniques to connect with people in a real way. So let's recap the top 3 things we've learned from this unexpected deep dive into, mastering small talk. First, small talk isn't just random. There's a structure you can follow to make those conversations flow.
Second, the words you use actually matter. This script has given us tons of phrases that are interesting, thoughtful, and perfect for different situations.
And third, practice, practice, practice. Whether you're practicing in your head or even role-playing with a friend, the more you do it, the more confident and natural you'll become.
It really is freeing, right? Knowing you have these tools, it takes away that fear of messing up or saying the wrong thing.
For sure. It's like having this, I don't know, secret weapon for social situations. And honestly, the biggest thing I'm taking away from this is small talk doesn't have to be something you dread. It can actually be like fun, a way to connect with people,
100%. What about you? What's sticking with you from all this? What did you find most helpful from looking at this script?
It's funny. I think what resonated most was realizing that everyone, even people who seem super outgoing, they've probably felt that awkwardness too. This script shows that small talk is a skill, like something you can learn and get better at, just like anything else.
Right. It's not like some people are born knowing how to do it and others aren't.
Exactly. It takes so much pressure off. You can just approach those conversations with curiosity, like a little game. Just see what happens.
I love that. A little game. It really can be like an adventure,
Yeah.
discovering something new about someone, even if it's just a tiny thing.
And it reminds you that even those small moments, a quick chat, a smile, they can all make a difference. It's like we're all connected in this big web, and every conversation adds to that,
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive into, well, the surprisingly interesting world of small talk, I want to leave you with this. Think about the next time you are in a situation where there's going to be some small talk. Maybe it's a party or a work event, even just grabbing coffee. What are you most excited to try out from all the stuff we talked about?
Such a good question.
Yeah.
And hey, remember, it doesn't have to be perfect, okay? Just be yourself, be genuine, and see what happens. You might be surprised how fun and even meaningful those small conversations can be. So go out there and conquer the world of small talk. We believe in you. Ever get that feeling you might be using a word wrong, but you're too afraid to ask?
Oh, yeah.
Well, fear no more. Because today we're diving deep into 15 words that even fluent English speakers mess up. We've got a YouTube script here all about leveling up your vocabulary. And you might be surprised by some of these common mistakes.
It is fascinating, though, how some of these errors stem from subtle distinctions that are easy to miss in casual conversation.
Okay, let's unpack this. We'll start with some beginner traps. Words that seem straightforward, but can be surprisingly tricky. I'll be honest, the word literally is one I hear misused all the time.
Yep.
Just the other day, someone told me they were literally dying from how much they had to do that week.
Yes. Literally seems to be a word that's been taken hostage by hyperbole.
So remind us, what should literally mean? Why is it important to use it correctly?
Literally means something actually happened, exactly as stated.
Yeah.
It emphasizes the reality of a situation, not an exaggeration.
Right.
While your friend might have felt overwhelmed, they weren't literally dying.
Right.
You see, using literally correctly makes sure your words carry their intended weight. It's about precision and clarity, especially in an age where misinformation can spread so easily.
That's a really good point. The impact on communication is huge. Okay, another beginner word that trips people up is unique. I once saw a store advertising a sale on very unique items. Something about that just felt off.
That's because unique means one of a kind.
Right.
Inherently special. It stands alone.
Right.
So adding modifiers like very or quite is redundant and actually weakens the impact of the word.
So instead of saying something is very unique, how can we highlight that specialness in everyday conversation?
Let the word unique speak for itself.
Okay.
You could say that painting is truly unique or her style is unique. You're emphasizing the inherent specialness without needing to qualify it further.
That's so interesting. I can see how that subtle shift makes a big difference. Even these beginner words have hidden depths. You really have to think about their true meaning.
Absolutely, and that's what makes language so fascinating. Now, prepare to have some assumptions challenged because some words have meanings completely different from what most people assume.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Give me an example of one of these words.
Let's start with irony.
Okay.
Many people confuse irony with simple coincidence or bad luck. For example, someone might say, "It's so ironic that I won the lottery and then got hit by a car."
So winning the lottery and then getting hit by a car, that's just bad luck, not irony.
Yeah.
What makes a situation truly ironic?
True irony involves a situation where the outcome is the opposite of what was expected, often with a humorous or sarcastic undertone. A classic example would be a fire station burning down. It's not just about unfortunate timing, it's about a surprising reversal of expectations.
Wow, that makes so much sense. It's not just about something bad happening. It's about the unexpected nature of the situation.
You see, understanding irony helps us analyze situations more deeply. It's not just about bad luck. It's about recognizing the unexpected and sometimes absurd nature of life.
Speaking of unexpected twists,
Yeah.
let's talk about a word. often misused in situations with high stakes. Alibis.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I hear people using alibi as a synonym for any kind of excuse.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I have a good alibi.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a common mistake. People might say, I didn't finish the project, but I have a good alibi.
Wait, so if it's not just any excuse, what makes a real alibi? I'm genuinely confused.
An alibi has a very specific legal meaning.
Okay.
It refers to proof that someone was somewhere else at the time a crime was committed, demonstrating their innocence. It's not just any excuse. It's evidence that clears someone of suspicion.
So using alibi to explain why you didn't finish a project wouldn't really make sense.
Exactly. Using alibi in casual conversation when you simply mean excuse can actually undermine your credibility. It shows a lack of precision in your language.
Okay, this is making me rethink how I use these words. What other intermediate words are lurking out there, ready to trip us up?
How about a word that's often confused with its near opposite? Disinterested. Many people use disinterested to mean uninterested or bored. For instance, someone might say, I was completely disinterested in that meeting.
Disinterested. If it doesn't mean bored or uninterested, then what does it actually mean?
Disinterested actually describes someone who is impartial or unbiased, free from personal stake or interest in a situation. A good example would be a judge who must remain disinterested in the outcome of a case.
Okay.
They can't be swayed by personal opinions or biases.
So if I wanted to say that I found the meeting boring, disinterested wouldn't be the right word to use.
Precisely. In that case, uninterested or bored would be more accurate.
Right.
Disinterested implies neutrality and objectivity. It's about being impartial, not uncaring.
I never realized how a single word could completely change the tone and meaning of a sentence. It's all about understanding those subtle but powerful nuances.
Absolutely. And that's what we're here to explore. Are you ready to be bemused by the next word?
Bemused. Okay, you've definitely got my attention. What's so tricky about this one?
People often think bemused means amused or entertained.
Okay.
You might hear someone say, I was bemused by his silly jokes.
So if bemused doesn't mean amused, then what's the real meaning?
Bemused actually means puzzled, bewildered, or even slightly confused. Think of it as a state of mild perplexity, for example. You might be bemused by a riddle you can't solve.
Huh?
Or a strange event you don't fully understand.
So it's not about laughing at a joke. It's about that feeling of, wait, what just happened? That makes a lot of sense.
Imagine someone watching a magic trick.
Right.
Their brow furrowed, a slight smile playing on their lips.
Yeah.
That's bemusement. It's not amusement,
Yeah.
but a fascinated perplexity.
Okay, now I'm really starting to understand the difference.
Uh-huh.
Bemused is a much richer word than I realized.
Mm-hmm.
It's about that space between amusement and confusion.
Exactly. And these subtle distinctions can make a big difference in how your message is received. Are you ready for our final intermediate word?
Bring it on. I'm ready to tackle anything.
All right. Let's explore a word that's often misused to describe something grand or impressive. Enormity. People often use enormity to emphasize the sheer size or scope of something. You might hear someone say, I was overwhelmed by the enormity of the project.
That's how I usually use it. But I have a feeling it doesn't quite mean what I think it means.
Yeah.
What's the real meaning?
While enormity can relate to size, its primary meaning leans towards something more serious and weighty.
Okay.
It often refers to extreme wickedness, outrageousness, or the sheer gravity of a situation,
Right.
particularly in a moral or ethical context.
So it's less about physical size and more about the weight of the implications.
Precisely. For instance, if you were discussing a horrific crime, you might speak of the enormity of the act to emphasize its moral depravity and the severity of its consequences.
Wow, that puts the word in a whole new light. It's not just about something being big, it's about something being profoundly impactful, often in a negative sense.
Exactly. It's a word that carries a lot of weight, both literally and figuratively.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground already. And I'm starting to feel the enormity and the true sense of the word, of all these linguistic nuances. What's next on our journey?
Next, we'll be venturing into the realm of advanced words, where the nuances become even more intricate. Are you ready to level up your vocabulary even further?
Absolutely. I'm eager to see what other linguistic gems await us in this deep dive
Yeah.
into words.
Right.
It'd be great.
Awesome. Fasten your seatbelts, because these advanced words can be real brain twisters. They're the ones that often pop up in intellectual discussions or professional settings, and misusing them can unfortunately make you sound less credible.
Okay, I'm ready to face the advanced word challenge head on. Let's start with one that I've definitely struggled with in the past.
Decimate.
Decimate is fascinating because its common usage has drifted quite far from its original meaning. People often use it as a synonym for completely destroy, like saying the hurricane decimated the coastal towns. Yeah, I've definitely heard it used that way. But if it doesn't mean to completely destroy, then what does it actually mean?
Decimate has a very specific historical root. It comes from the ancient Roman practice of punishing mutinous troops by killing 1 out of every 10 soldiers. So the original meaning of decimate is to reduce by 1/10, not to obliterate completely.
Wow, I had no idea. That's a pretty grim origin story for a word. So using decimate to describe the total destruction of a town wouldn't be quite right.
Exactly. It's a case of hyperbole overtaking precision. While the impact of a hurricane can be devastating, it's unlikely to literally reduce a town's population by exactly 1/10.
This is why I love these deep dives. You uncover these hidden layers of meaning that we often miss in everyday conversation. It's like learning a secret code.
This word's bloody history reminds us that language carries the weight of the past. Even today, decimate suggests a severe calculated reduction, not total destruction.
Okay, what other advanced words are waiting to be decoded?
Let's tackle one that often gets misused in academic circles: peruse.
Peruse. I'll admit I've been guilty of using this one incorrectly myself. I always thought it meant to quickly skim through something.
That's a very common misconception. In reality, peruse means to read thoroughly and carefully. It implies a close and attentive examination of a text, not a hasty glance.
So if I said I perused the report before the meeting, it would mean I'd given it a very close read, not just skim the headings.
Precisely. Using peruse correctly conveys a sense of diligence and attention to detail. It suggests you've really absorbed the information.
This is another one of those aha moments. I'm realizing that using these advanced words correctly can signal a certain level of intellectual rigor. It shows you're not just skimming the surface.
Exactly. It's about choosing words that accurately reflect the depth of your engagement with the topic.
All right, bring on the next advanced word challenge. I'm feeling more and more confident with each one we tackle.
Let's see if you can crack the code on this one. Nonplussed.
Nonplussed. This one seems tricky. I've heard it used to describe someone who's calm and collected under pressure. Like, even though the presentation went wrong, she remained nonplussed.
That's a clever guess, but it's actually the opposite. Nonplussed describes a state of being surprised and confused, often to the point of speechlessness. It's that feeling of being caught off guard and unsure how to react.
Wow, so it's almost like being speechless with shock.
Exactly. Nonplussed implies a momentary loss of composure, a sense of being bewildered. It's that deer in the headlights feeling.
That makes so much more sense. I can see how misusing this word could lead to some awkward situations.
Indeed, it highlights the importance of understanding the nuances of these advanced words. They can have a big impact on how our message is perceived.
Okay, what other advanced word adventures await us? I'm ready to expand my vocabulary horizons.
Let's explore a word that often gets used in a way that diminishes its true impact. Plethora.
Plethora.
I usually think of this word as meaning a lot of something, in a positive way, like there was a plethora of fun activities to choose from at the festival. That's a common interpretation. But plethora carries a slightly different nuance. While it does mean an abundance of something, it often implies an excessive or overwhelming amount.
Okay.
It can sometimes even suggest a sense of burden or inconvenience.
Interesting. So it's not just about having a lot of something, it's about having maybe too much of it, like it's overflowing.
Precisely. Imagine a situation where you're bombarded with information or faced with an overwhelming number of choices. That sense of being inundated can be captured by the word plethora.
So if I were to say, I have a plethora of emails to respond to, it would imply that I'm feeling a bit swamped by them, not necessarily excited about having a full inbox.
Exactly. It's about that tipping point where abundance starts to feel like excess. It's about that too much of a good thing feeling.
I'm starting to see how using plethora correctly can add a layer of sophistication to my descriptions. It's a much more nuanced way of expressing abundance than just saying a lot.
It's about choosing words that convey not just the quantity, but also the impact of that quantity.
This is making me realize how much I've taken these words for granted, what other advanced words are hiding in plain sight, waiting to be understood.
Let's delve into one that's often misused in discussions about facts and information.
Factoid.
Factoid. This one seems pretty straightforward. I always thought it just meant a small or trivial fact.
That's how it's commonly used, but its original meaning is a bit more nuanced, even controversial. The term factoid was actually coined to describe something that appears to be a fact, but is actually false or unsubstantiated.
Right, really? That's a completely different meaning.
That's the risk with using factoid in its original sense. It implies a degree of skepticism or even doubt about the validity of the information being presented. It can be a way of highlighting that something may sound like a fact, but it hasn't actually been proven true.
This is a perfect example of how language can evolve and shift in meaning over time. It's important to be aware of both the common usage and the original intent behind a word. You're absolutely right. Language is a living, breathing thing that constantly adapts and changes. Our goal is to be aware of those changes and use words in a way that is both accurate and effective.
So how can we use factoid in a way that doesn't accidentally spread misinformation?
If you're unsure of the accuracy of a piece of information, it's best to avoid using factoid altogether. You could say something like, here's an interesting tidbit, or this might be a bit of trivia, but this avoids any implication that the information might be false.
That's really helpful advice. Okay, bring on the next advanced word. I'm ready to conquer some more linguistic complexities.
Let's tackle a word that often causes confusion in discussions and debates. Moot.
Moot? I've always thought of this word as meaning irrelevant or pointless. Like that argument is moot because the decision has already been made.
That's a common understanding, but it's not entirely accurate. While moot can relate to something that's no longer relevant, its original meaning is a bit more nuanced. It originally referred to a matter that is open for debate or discussion.
So if a topic is moot, it's not necessarily pointless. It just means there's room for further discussion or consideration.
Precisely. Imagine a legal case where the circumstances change, making the original point of contention no longer relevant to the outcome. The issue might be considered moot, not because it was unimportant, but because it's no longer central to the case.
That's a really helpful clarification. So it's less about the topic being irrelevant and more about its significance having shifted or diminished.
Exactly. It's about acknowledging that the context has changed, and the original point of debate may no longer be the primary focus.
I'm definitely feeling more enlightened than moot after tackling that one. What other advanced word adventures await us?
Let's wrap up our exploration of advanced words with a pair that often trips people up: infer and imply.
Infer and imply, the classic conundrum. I know these words are related to drawing conclusions, but I often mix them up.
It's a common confusion. The key difference lies in who is doing the action. The speaker or writer implies something, meaning they suggest or hint at something without stating it directly. The listener or reader infers something, meaning they draw a conclusion based on what is implied.
So if I were to say, it's getting late, I might be implying that it's time to go, even though I haven't explicitly said so.
Exactly. And if you, as the listener, understood my implication, you would have correctly inferred my meaning.
I see. So it's a two-way street. The speaker sends out a subtle signal, and the listener picks up on that signal and draws a conclusion.
Precisely. It's like a subtle dance of communication where meaning is conveyed through suggestion and interpretation.
This distinction is so subtle, but it's crucial for clear communication. Misusing these words can lead to all sorts of misunderstandings.
Absolutely. Mastering the difference between infer and imply is essential for navigating conversations and interpreting written texts accurately. It's about understanding both sides of the communication equation.
Wow, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. It's amazing how much depth and complexity there is to these seemingly simple words.
And we've only just scratched the surface. But I hope you're starting to see how understanding the nuances of language can empower you to communicate with greater clarity and precision.
I'm definitely feeling a lot more confident about using these words correctly. It's like a whole new world of linguistic possibilities has opened up.
And that's the beauty of language learning. It's an ongoing journey of discovery and refinement. Are you ready for a quick challenge to test your newfound knowledge?
Absolutely. Bring it on. All right. Hit me with that word challenge. I'm ready to put my knowledge to the test.
Okay. Let's see if you can recall the true meaning of nonplussed. Without looking back at our discussion, take a moment to think about it.
Okay. No peeking. I think I've got it. Nonplussed means to be surprised and confused, almost to the point of speechlessness. It's like that feeling of being completely thrown off guard and not knowing how to react.
That's absolutely correct. You've successfully decoded nonplussed. It seems our deep dive has truly expanded your vocabulary horizons.
I'm feeling pretty proud of myself right now. This whole experience has been eye-opening. I've realized that using words correctly isn't just about sounding smart. It's about communicating effectively and ensuring that my message is understood.
It's about wielding the power of language with precision and care, choosing words that accurately reflect not only what we want to say, but also the subtle nuances of meaning we wish to convey.
You know, it's funny because I used to think that vocabulary was just about memorizing definitions. But this deep dive has shown me that it's so much more than that. It's about understanding the history, the etymology, the subtle shades of meaning that make each word unique.
It's about recognizing that words are not static, but dynamic. They evolve over time, their meanings shifting and adapting to reflect the changing world around us.
And that's what makes language so fascinating. It's a living, breathing entity that connects us to the past, informs our present, and shapes our future.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, I encourage you to continue exploring the fascinating world of language. Pay attention to the words you use, the words you encounter, and the way they impact your understanding of the world.
I know I will. This has been such a rewarding journey. I'm walking away with a newfound appreciation for the power of words and the importance of using them correctly.
Remember, language is a gift, a tool that allows us to connect, create, and inspire. Let's use it wisely.
Absolutely.
Until next time.
Happy wordsmithing.